Good morning on Sunday. It is Sunday Fun Day. Can't be sober on Sunday Fun Day. Well, actually, I am today because two reasons. Well, I've got something later on to do. I'll be on the place tonight.
It is Sunday.
It'll be on NGC Studios. We're going to be talking about speech act theory and implicatures, and I think or perlocution stuff and all kinds of interesting stuff about speech act with Dr. Jones. But so my voice is kind of going, and also I'm just so tired. I was so out of it yesterday. I mean, I wasn't even a non-sec because I was just could not sleep. And then I was so tired today that when I finally did pass out, I had like a weird dream that I was in a bus going off a cliff and I was falling. And I was like, the last thing that I could think of was, shit. You know, I was like, it's going to be over soon, right? And then I woke up. But don't you hate those dreams, Chris?
Yeah.
Those were. And it was so real too. I was like, this is really it. I'm about to die. Okay, well, you know what? It's going to be over soon, you know. So, you know, I figure if you're going off a cliff in a bus, it's probably not going to be very painful, right? As soon as you hit it, you're done. So, but anyways, you guys didn't come over here to listen to that. So let me check the chat real quick because make sure you guys hear me. Question from somebody says, Steve, I looked up the entrenchment effect you mentioned in regards to the CGI debate last night, and all I could find was business management kind of stuff. Could you please explain what you meant? Yes, the entrenchment effect is also called the backfire effect. It's basically what happens when people have conflicting information with something that they already believe or have a bias to, so they kind of double down on it, right? That's the entrenchment effect. It's basically just saying that people will have a kickback, and you'll probably have the opposite effect, that they won't listen to what you have to say and be turned off by it, no matter how compelling your argument is. I think that we've all experienced that. You may not know what the name of that actual effect is. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Let me check. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about today, I usually don't go after atheist people in the community. I try not to as much as possible. I mean, I always spawn to certain things, like you know, I just got done talking to Richard Carrier. I think we've kind of worked things out. Now he doesn't feel like he attacked me in his blog. He doesn't think that there was any personal stuff in there whatsoever, and it was all professional. Honestly, I disagree. I've had dozens, I mean, actually dozens of people message me saying, hey, why is Richard attacking you? Why is he using terminology like dysfunctional epistemology? Why is he having your name in a blog title that says a misunderstanding of the burden of proof? And yet I'm talking to him and he agrees with me on my entire arguments across the board. He literally agrees with me on my arguments that atheists have a burden of, there's a burden of proof for any position, right? Including not having a position. If I say I don't believe you, that is a belief requiring a burden of proof, because I believe that I don't believe you. There's a second order level belief on that. And he's fine with all that. He seems to understand that great because he's a very bright guy. What he disagrees with me and Bert Pohl and a few other people is that he argues that atheists have met their burden of proof to the point where they have no argument they needed to give to the theist any longer. They can walk into a conversation and say, I don't need to do anything, theist, you need to convince me. And I think that's burden shifting by definition. And everybody that I've talked to so far calls that burden shifting. So if you don't, let me know. But okay, let's let you guys right. Let me kind of dive into the topic here. I usually do a pre thing. So somebody mentioned a lack of belief is not belief. That's a good thing you said that, KT, because that's what we're going to be talking about right now. On Twitter, Anti-Ordinary is somebody that we kind of know from the YouTube channels. I mean, I've known her for quite some time. I kind of helped get her started by her coming over to my channel. Oh, Sir, you want to come in here? I'd like to get your opinion. Why? I don't know. You don't even know what kind of peanut butter to eat. But here, I invited you. And anyways, so I've been trying. I tried to help her out many times, and I know she doesn't like philosophy. I know she doesn't understand logic, and so I get upset when people want to pontificate on things with such surety, when they promote things that are so categorically wrong to the point where you just have to go stop. For example, if I had somebody And they even blocked me over this. Doesn't matter who, but somebody said beliefs are a subset of knowledge. To which I'm trying to explain to them, no, knowledge is a subset of belief. Gave them all the evidence, um, for theories of knowledge. Give them Venn diagrams. Doesn't matter. Nope, you're wrong, Steve. Okay, well, what paper have you read on this? What evidence do you have to cite me? Nothing. You're just wrong. Okay, well, we're done. And then they block me on that because if they don't have, I ask them for evidence, but if they don't have any, and then they go, you're just wrong and block me. Well, what are you going to do? Well, this was a situation specifically with Anti-Ordinary where her misunderstandings and her ignorance causes me grief because she involves other people. In this case, she tried to involve Matt Dillahunty, who already I have, she has misconceptions about my beliefs and misconceptions about me. Right. So let me just dive right in and let me do I need a screen? Yeah, I guess I'll screen share here. I'll show you the first tweet that started this. Now, I maintain very strongly that I don't have a God belief, right? I think that everybody knows that by now. Would you not?
No, I think you're a total polytheist.
Yeah, exactly, right. I'm a closet polyatheist. Hail Odin. When do I got a screen share here? Okay. But she doesn't seem to understand that agnostic, I guess, entails that you don't believe in God. Fair enough, right? Again, this is leading somewhere. There's a lot more to this, so just kind of bear with me. This is the comment that she focused on. Can a person have a God belief and not be an atheist? Because I maintain for a fact that all atheists lack a belief, but not all who lack a belief are atheist. That to me is an unequivocal fact. And most people seem to agree with that, right? Because it depends on your definition. If there's a definition out there that allows for you to not have a belief and not be an atheist, which would be fine in philosophy, then obviously that statement holds true, right? So there are instances where you can lack a belief and not be an atheist. It's a no-brainer to me, right? But I said,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could ask her the question in a different way. Ask her, okay, do agnostics believe in God? And if they're using their, faulty, quadrant model, the Gnostic, agnostic,
the multi-axle approach,
then she would have to admit that there's no such thing as an agnostic theist.
Yeah, that multi-axle approach needs to die. It is like it literally to me is like the zeitgeist of atheism. Like the whole horse. It's the same thing.
Bad.
Or it's the zeitgeist of epistemology. There you go.
See, I like Dawkins' scale, but I don't like the way that it's labeled.
Yeah, because he recycles terminology that's already established in the literature.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's not like his scale doesn't have value to it, I guess. I just think, like you said, it recycles something that's already there and it confuses people.
Yeah.
But, okay, so by the way, Raleigh S says everything is belief, and I agree with that. By the way, I was reading a paper called On Propositions by Bertrand Russell, and he actually explicitly says that all beliefs are positive. All propositions are positive. Whether you're expressing a positive or negative claim, even if you lack a belief, it's still a positive claim because you're positively saying you believe that you don't lack that you positively saying that you believe you lack a belief, and he's absolutely right.
Exactly. Now, the only exception to that is if you're using some sort of a metaphor or an analogy to make a point, just positing a hypothetical like, okay, I believe in pink unicorns.
Right. Well, okay. So yeah, those are speech act things. All right, so let's get into the crux of this because I really want to show why this is important. Why when people that are unfamiliar with these topics involve other people like Matt Dillahunty, who kind of do know these topics, and it gets people like me in trouble when they're using their own misinformation and applying it to me because the ignorance was not on my behalf; it was on her behalf, and people were trying to help her. A lot of people were trying to help her on this, and she just would not listen. Yeah. No, Shannon, we're not talking about agnosticism. We're talking about logic and speech act theory here in a second. So we're going to get to that. So, all right. So I said, I do not believe God exists, but I'm not an atheist. Now, here's the crux. What is a cool title? Because I'm tired of people like anti-ordinary doing this continually. It's just got to stop because people are trying to help her, and she personally went out of her way to involve Matt Dillahunty and got the entire message wrong. And I'll explain it. So, okay. So let me ask you guys in here. Does the statement, I do not believe in God, imply I believe gods do not exist?
No.
No, not inherently, no.
Okay. I'm glad you put it that way. Okay. So logically, we all agree that if I say I do not believe P, that does not mean I believe not P, correct?
Absolutely.
Correct. Absolutely,
yes.
Logically. Okay.
You can reject a proposition without accepting the negative.
Yes. Now, I want you to notice here that's exactly what I said. I do not believe P. And now she was arguing that by me saying I do not believe gods exist, I am saying I believe gods do not exist. Now, you can go back and check my Twitter line. It's on my Twitter line. You can do that on your own. But if you want to, for save time, arguendo, that's what's happening here. She's actually arguing that I believe there's no gods. She makes it very clear that I've contradicted myself. And like I said, you can go back and find it on my timeline if you want to. Now,
and I mean, it looks like they're going to fight, tooth and nail for it because they've already, exposed themselves, so to speak, and kind of shown their ignorance. I mean, I think that's a hill that
it gets worse. It gets worse. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, Red Venture is a friend, and he jumped in, and he was absolutely right on this. He didn't do anything wrong, except for one thing. He was trying to use more. He was trying to explain something vastly beyond, I think, anti-ordinary's ability to understand. He was diving into what's called pragmatic theory, or something. Pragmatic theory, okay, which is part of Speech Act theory, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight on NGC Studios with Dr. Jones. This hangout literally leads into that, because what he brought up was something called negation raising. Now, most people never heard of this term. Negation raising or neg raising is when you take a clause statement that has a verb in it and you put it to the main clause. So if I say, like, I do not think Jim will be at the party, that has a perceived thing to the listener of, I believe Jim will not be at the party. Okay. There's a big, so it's called negation raising. You can see it here. I'll bring this over here. So neg raising is basically saying John doesn't think this novel is good. Is usually interpreted not as a statement about what John doesn't think, but as a statement about what he does think. Okay. So it's called negation raising because you're raising it to a negated position. You say, I don't believe that he'll come, raised to a negation. I think he won't come. It's a phenomenon. Okay. It's a very legit phenomenon in pragmatic theory. Okay. But pragmatic theory has to do with Speech Act, has to do with the meaning of things, has nothing to do with logical things at all.
It seems to me, and there might be exceptions to this, but all the examples that I can think of currently in my head, just from looking at that, it seems like she's adding, I think, in front of something that's already a proposition.
Well, I mean, I believe it is the case. Those are all the same thing.
Like, but yeah, but adding it in front of something like that can stand by itself, like he will not come.
Well, I don't want to get too deep in it, but anyways, there's something called neg raising. But again, when you're talking about these pragmatics, it has to do with how a lot of it on the listener. Okay, the listener will have these things that they may believe that is not implied by the locutionary act. They're called perlocutionary acts. So they're not directly implied. Let me give you an example. Because again, I've looked into this quite extensively because this is what we're going to get into tonight on the place. But if I say, hey, Jim, can you pass me the sock? Excuse me. Can you pass me the salt? That is an interrogative, right? That is a question. Right. But it is applied to you as a directive to pass me the salt, right?
Yes.
Because what are you going to do? You're not going to say yes and then do nothing. You're going to pass me the salt. There's a perlocutionary act there that you will pass the salt. So that's a difference in these word things. This is why semantic theory is quite different than logical theory in this regard.
I see what you're saying. So it's kind of manipulating their interpretation of it.
Yeah, perlocution is not necessarily what the locutionary act is what the locutionary act is exactly what you say. You know, pass the salt is a locutionary act, meaning a directive to pass the salt. There's a whole bunch of different types of I literally named off like 30 different types of these things to Dr. Jones and said, is this a required reading on this? Because there's so many of them. It's That's obscene. Hilarious. Yeah. Commissives and responses, the commissives, directives, implicatures. It's ridiculous. But he's a linguist, so I wanted to catch up on it. But it's not really the point of this discussion. Okay, so what happened was then she decided to post a video about Matt Dillahunty, about when he was saying I was smug, which has nothing to do with anything, right? I mean, that's just, you know, so what? He thinks I'm smug, but he doesn't address the arguments. But then she says, oh, wait, did I already pass it? Right here. She says, I'm an atheist version of a younger creationist now, according to Stephen McRae, because I believe that the statement, I'll pay very close attention here, I believe no gods exist, is essentially the same as I don't believe in God. Can you see what she did there?
She conflated the two different, those are two different propositions. And
it's called the converse. She asserted the converse. The converse. If you have P implies Q, the converse is Q implies P.
Right.
Okay, so this is true. If I say I believe that there are no gods, it implies I don't believe in God.
Yeah, no, that's faulty.
Yeah. So, but and if you look in here, she actually thanks Matt Dillahunty, and Matt Dillahunty has me blocked, right? So I don't know what he said, but she actually says in here, thanks Matt Dillahunty, to which I assumed she was thanking him for him responding. Fair assessment, right? Because I can't read if he responded or not, and he's got me blocked.
Right.
So I said,
no. I think she's responding to Robert Reed. She's saying great post, and she said thank Matt Dillahunty.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, but I can see that, but I didn't. Like I said, so he's blocked, so I have no idea. But anyways, I thought she was thanking him, right? I thought she was. He responded, but it doesn't really matter either way because she tagged him. Now he's on this post. He's going to see this, and he's going to go, well, fucking Steve's an idiot. Of course, if you believe there are no gods, it's essentially the same as saying I don't believe in God. Jesus, Steve's dumb. Because her misinterpretation of one to the other, thinking that they mean the exact same thing, because the converse is not the same as the statement. P implies Q is not the same thing as Q implies P. So if I say I don't believe in gods, that does not imply I believe gods. But if I say I believe there are no gods, that implies I don't believe they're gods. Now, everybody who knows logic, everybody knows reason, everybody understands the converse. Do you not see the problem here? That her misunderstanding and her ignorance, after I spent hours trying to explain this to her, numerous people tried to explain this to her, she decided to now do this, tag Matt Dillahunty, and now what's going to happen when Matt reads that? I'm looking like a fucking idiot. Now do you see why I'm doing this hangout? Because I'm literally getting frustrated with that. It is okay if you attack my positions, but don't involve other people and get my positions wrong. I just got done for like 20 minutes talking to Richard Carrier about this. And now I've got to, eventually I'm going to have a discussion with Matt on non sequitur probably. And I have to correct this now because of another issue that people misinterpreted what I said or didn't understand it and conflate it with something completely different. Yeah. Shannon says she believes that, not you. Right. But that's the problem. She's right. I would never call somebody a young earth creationist because of that statement. That statement is true. I said she was arguing like a young earth creationist because everybody was trying to explain to her the logical problems and she didn't want to understand it. Same thing like a young earth creationist or flat earth does. They don't want to look at the facts. That's why. See the problem? Yeah, you're reading that wrong, Shannon. Because you're
right, yeah,
you're not looking at the backstory.
Representing the proposition.
Yes,
Or
because
is
the argument that argument we're having was, if I do not believe in God equates to I believe gods do not exist. That was the argument. She was saying that she didn't see a distinction. She's asked me numerous times, can you tell me the distinction between I do not believe gods exist and I believe gods don't exist? And I did many times. I said, look, I use the gumball analogy. I got a jar of gumballs. I suggest that they're even. The proposition is even. Do you believe that? Well, if you don't, it doesn't mean that you apply that they're odd. She thinks it does.
No, and that's something crucial that's missing from that. I mean, it's just crazy how they put everything into a dichotomy like that. Whenever you can believe that, you can believe that they are even, you can believe that they are odd, but you can also reject both propositions based on a lack of evidence.
Yeah, I told her the same thing. I said, you did the Matt Slick fallacy. Even though there's two ontological states, even or odd, there's actually 4 different possibilities on a belief there. You can believe that they're even, you can believe that they're odd, you can believe neither, which you said, or you actually could believe both, but that would entail in a rational position, usually only found in what's called cognitive dissonance or something called Moore's paradox.
Well, that's also illogical, right? Can you logically?
Well, it's not. You got to remember, beliefs are complicated, right?
Yeah.
So it would be an irrational position, but belief-wise, using stochastic logic, you could actually hold something like that. I've actually shown that in a blog post. Well, it's exactly what happens when you have a cognitive dissonance. I mean, Shannon's in the live chat. She can tell you cognitive dissonance is when you hold 2 contradictory positions at the same time.
Sure.
But you compartmentalize
but
it, so you don't recognize it.
But it's usually not something that's on a dichotomy. Like, well,
yeah, contradiction means a contradiction is a dichotomous situation where you have P or not P, right? So you are having a contradiction.
Those are the only 2 choices in most cases, right?
Well, but a contradiction is something that if you have one, you can't have the other. So you're having 2 competing contradiction in your head. So she says not really. Maybe she can explain it differently, but that's definitely the way I understand cognitive dissonance. That's how I've read it. If Shannon wants to, Shannon, how? Well, you do kind of hold them simultaneously, but you can compartmentalize them. Yeah. And did I invite AO to defend her position? Well, she's actually in England. She's probably sleeping. And sure, if she wants to come in, she's more than welcome to. I got no problem with that. But this is not really a defense of her position. This is more of her, specifically tagging somebody into a Twitter feed to say something that, such as, because she believes that the statement "I believe no gods exist" is essentially the same as "I don't believe." I am referring to her as a young Earth creationist view, right? I'm saying she's wrong for thinking that, is what's implying, but that's a true statement, is what she said.
No.
So that's my criticism. Don't tag these people on threads to waste their time, and I have to refute shit because you want to tag them on something.
Oh yeah, and that's yeah. I don't see how many different posts there were involving you, but I'm guessing there's at least 3.
With her and I.
Yeah, like the retweets. There's this one.
It's huge. No, we went on for hours. No, we went on for hours, and I mean, and eventually one person even blocked me because they were accusing me of fallacy, and I asked them for evidence, and they didn't have any.
Oh,
I said, you said I committed fallacy of appeal to popularity, or excuse me, appeal to authority. I'm like, can you at least tell me the form for that fallacy? Tell me what the form is, because you say I'm committing it. What's the form, so I know that you know the fallacy? They couldn't do it. I'm like, so I clearly didn't commit the fallacy if you don't even know what it is. Yeah, but let me read this real quick, and maybe Shannon, you're welcome to come in. I can invite you in a second. But here, cognitive dissonance is the field of psychology is the mental discomfort experienced by a person who simultaneously holds 2 or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values.
Right. Yeah. So it's the
simultaneously
struggle itself. It's not the actual act of holding the positions.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. But but I'm saying that with cognitive dissonance, I can see that you can you can believe something and not believe something at the same time.
Right. Not without
not without
small
discomfort.
discomfort.
Yeah. Now, granted, even without that, it's still a lot. It's still a possibility because of belief states. Only because I make an argument, and you can go look at my actual logic. Using predicate logic, you can actually show, I think, that you can hold contradictory positions. However, it doesn't matter. Even if you took that position out, you still have three options, right? I believe even, I believe odd, or I believe neither, which is not a dichotomy.
Right.
But she is insisting that if you don't believe X, if you don't believe gods exist, you believe gods don't exist. And that's just fundamentally wrong. And Matt Dillahunty has said that many times. He'll say that on Atheist Experience. I'm not saying I believe gods don't exist. I'm saying I do not believe that gods exist. And they are two different things. So again, I'm just trying to tell people, this is what it leads very much discomfort for me when people tag other people just to go, oh, look what Steve's doing, when you don't know the topic well enough. If somebody says, I'd like to get maybe Matt's opinion because somebody has something about Matt, that's one thing. But I'll give you another perfect example. I have a guy that misunderstood what I was saying one time and emailed Matt Dillahunty. I had to spend my time for hours correcting what he had said because it was not what he thought I had said. Right. And he later apologized for it. I have the email. He admitted he got it wrong and he apologized. And then months later goes back to asserting the same freaking things. In which I finally had to block him. Because that kind of drama I don't fucking need.
I don't know how you keep finding people like this, Steve.
Well, I mean, I've known AO a long while, and I've gone on my way to help her, and a lot of people have. When you don't know a topic at all, if you don't even understand what a dichotomy is, you don't understand logic. And I even got friends of mine that were experts in logic to come into the thread and explain it to her. She was talking back to them instead of going, okay, let me try to understand this. I'm just at a loss that if I know that I'm completely and utterly inept at a topic, I'm not going to sit there and say to experts in their field, which isn't me, but the people I brought in. One of them is a very, very good logic person. I think he's working on a PhD, but he's very, very good at it. And even he was just flabbergasted, you know.
Well, this is just the it just.
Oh, by the way, let me quick, Shannon. I'm not interested in Olive Branch. I'm really done at this point with AO. I've literally at my wit's end, so I really don't care, to be honest with you. When you stick your hand out that many times, you can get a bit. Because it's not the first time. There's been other altercations where she has got up all my shit for no fucking apparent reason, and well, she is inept. I mean, I'm inept in a lot of things. So what? We're all inept at something. She's inept at logic. I mean, she's inept at philosophy. She says she hates these topics. She doesn't want to go learn them. She's literally inept. What else word to use?
She knows crap about them. That's what I don't understand. It's like people like Arn and others, and they just go on and rail about how they hate these topics, and yet at the same time they keep acting like they know something about them.
Shannon, how is she not inept on a topic that she doesn't know the first basic things about? She doesn't know what metaphysics is. She doesn't know what epistemology is. She doesn't know what a dichotomy is. You know, that's to me is inept.
Being inept is not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. No, I'm inept at a lot of different subjects. I'm inept at geology.
At the same time, though, I also think that people can understand concepts without knowing terminology. I feel like that you can explain to somebody, you know, what you're trying to explain philosophically without using terms that would confuse them. But I mean, I don't know how you tried to approach her in the past. I don't know how others have, but it's just my experience that that using terminology on people who are inept at it isn't productive, especially.
I broke it down as basic as I can get, and other people did well as well. Yes, Athena, I see you. Hi.
Yeah, I've seen some of that go. I saw some of that go down, Jim. It's you couldn't really have put it any simpler than what Steve and others did. She wasn't even trying to understand. She was literally just trying to go out of her way to be a dumbass.
I really was trying to help her out. I even said, AO, honestly, you're really embarrassing yourself. Stop and listen to what we're trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Athena too. Don't go. Athena can come in if you, not she, he. Athena's a he. I don't know why. I don't know why he has Athena as a name. You know, Shannon rage quit. You know what? I with all due respect, I love Shannon to death, but we got to face facts here. People can be inept on things, and when they bite the hand that feeds them, and I helped get her, started in the communities. I promoted her. I try to help her understand philosophy. I've spent hours of my time in both public and private explaining concepts to her. And this is what I get for it. And I'm not the only ones this happened to. She's done this to other people. So this is why I'm just at my wit's end. And I'm saying this is not a personal attack against AO, but for the love of fucking God, stop doing this shit.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated. And it's not because she thinks I'm wrong, not because she doesn't understand this. It's because I have to now, if Matt Dillahunty sees this, I have to now correct this bullshit because now he has a false impression because he's going to think, well, Steve's a goddamn idiot if he thinks that I don't believe P doesn't entail I don't believe P.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so live chat. What do you guys think? I mean, I am venting. Don't get me wrong, but and there's a lot.
Steve,
there's been a lot of history on this. So,
yeah, Steve. Somebody in the chat doesn't believe you have stated your position clear enough.
Well, I don't know how else I can explain it. I mean, yeah, pretty clear on that.
I guess
Here, let me explain it this way very clearly for people that may not understand it. Yeah, you don't have to be a Vulcan to understand logic. Here's in a nutshell. If I have something that says this entails that, if I say X entails Y, that means if X is true, Y must be true, and Y is contingent upon X. Okay? If I say I don't believe something, I don't believe that the gumballs are even. It does not mean that I'm asserting that they are odd. She seems to think so for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. By the way, Steve, yeah, I noticed. Sorry about that. I had a comment about what anti-ordinary said because I went on Twitter and also looked what she said. Let's see, what did she say? I believe no gods exist. Someone remind me what she said.
I said I don't believe gods exist, and she went on for about 20 minutes saying, "Steve, you contradict yourself. You said you don't believe gods exist, therefore, which means you believe that they don't exist. Therefore, you had a contradiction."
Well, no. Like I'm trying to remember the two things she said because she's like, Steve thinks I'm a younger creation. I'm a younger.
Yeah. She said, I'm an atheist version of a young earth creationist now, according to Steve McRae, because now here's the key word, because I believe that the statement, I believe no gods exist, is essentially the same as I don't believe in God. But that's a true statement though. Why would I think she's a young earth creationist, on that mindset if she says something that's true? Because that's the converse of what I said.
Well, yeah, but I guess the issue I have with that, okay, is like I don't believe in God. I don't believe no gods exist. You don't believe in one God. Like no, if you say you don't believe any God, my head hurts.
Yeah.
I can't put it into words.
Manifold says this topic is borderline insane in terms of finding something to argue over. What matters to me is what someone believes, not what words they use to define it. Well, I don't give a shit what people use to define themselves. I never have. The next person you guys see that says, Steve says you're not an atheist, blah, blah, blah. If this, tell him to fuck off. That's never what I've argued. Ask him for one single solitary citation of that. One. Just one time when I ever said you're not an atheist because you don't believe gods don't exist. Never have I said that.
Well, I know what my next tweet's going to be.
Well, but that's another thing. Matt thinks that I've argued that, right? Matt Dillahunty thinks that I argue that you're not a real atheist if you don't believe gods don't exist. You can't use that label, which is fucking retarded. I've never said something stupid as that.
Okay, look.
Labels. You can call yourself what the fuck you want. My argument's always been, don't use your definitions to describe me. That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
You kind of I think it was Brian who has. Yeah, there we go. But I really hate all this confusion that exists in the world, and it always makes me think, dude, if God exists, he's a fucking asshole for allowing all this confusion to happen. Like, are we dealing with Loki here?
Yeah.
Loki.
He'll get Ocean.
Well, I mean, think about it.
No. We don't want to offend him either.
Well, yeah, Ocean's cool.
Kicking our asses if we start dissing on Loki.
Well, Loki's not an actual god according to Ocean. He's just an entity of some kind or thing. I don't know. I don't. He doesn't call him a god.
Yeah, we just got to be careful.
I don't know. With all this warfare and wisdom going on in this chat, I would say that somebody named I don't know, Athena.
What? I like the name.
No, nothing wrong with the name. Oh, and then she accused me of moving the goalpost. Chris, what the hell does she even mean by that? Because she was arguing the converse of what I said. How is that moving the goalpost?
It's not. She's a moron and doesn't even understand what fallacies she's talking about.
And yeah. This is why more people should study philosophy, but it gets misused so much it turns people off.
Because people basically only repeat what they hear Richard Dawkins say, and don't even bother to even read a bloody Wikipedia article which could correct them.
That's kind of accurate, but I think it's deeper than that. But sure, yeah.
Well, I know this to be the case because I'm currently arguing with around 5 different people who are literally just parroting everything that Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens have said without understanding any fundamentals of what they're talking about. I have not yet come across anyone in a live chat that could actually explain to me any of the fallacies that they accuse people of.
Let's see. Well, there's the poison in the well where you know what? I'm not going to go into how many fallacies I know. Never mind.
I'm not saying you.
No, I know. I was just trying to show off. Never mind. But now that you bring that up, it's actually fascinating. The parallel you have with people who just parrot stuff they learned in religion, and people who just parrot stuff they learned or they heard from Hitchens, and you know what I mean. I'm not saying that it's because atheism is a religion. I'm saying that seems to be a characteristics of people in general.
Yeah,
I mean, these people are in positions of authority, and a lot of people learn a lot of what they do from them. I mean, Dawkins and Hitchens have many great positions. Most of their positions are incredibly accurate, and I don't regret, reading any of the books of theirs that I've read or anything like that. But I mean, there's fault in everyone, in everybody's positions. I mean, you can find fault in something with everybody, but that doesn't make them, inept at what they're doing.
Well, Richard Dawkins isn't inept at doing anything except for science.
They what?
Richard Dawkins is inept at everything except for talking about science. Everything else, the guy doesn't know shit.
But because that's what he studied. I mean, if he studied economics, he wouldn't be inept at it. Like the whole somebody's inept at X. Well, why don't you fucking study it?
My problem's not that he's inept. My problem is that he then decided to write an entire book called The God Delusion, where he argues some of the worst philosophy I've ever seen in my entire life. He doesn't know his history. He doesn't know philosophy. The dude is inept, but acts like an expert.
Well, I mean, he's an actor. Yeah. You know what? This is why. Well, I won't get into my own philosophy of everything, but that's funny. Like, why? Forgive me. I suck at talking. Anyways, go on. Continue. Yeah. Yeah. No, you know what? I don't know. To go down one road a little bit more. Wow. To get off the topic of anti-ordinary for a minute, do you know how Steve met me?
Yeah, we've told it a few times.
I have no idea.
Good.
Yeah, well, it's around somewhere. Never mind. I don't want to grudge it up again. Sorry.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I'm reading my Facebook page, and Richard is just, God. I'm trying to be civil as possible, but he's not making it fucking easy. Everything. I don't know why he writes in such an antagonistic prose.
Because you can't disagree with Carrier, man.
Dude, and everybody told me this. Like, I swear to God, they're like, Steve, if you disagree with Richard, his whole tone will change. He's going to go after you. I was like, he's a friend. I hope not. Holy fuck, man. He's just like going off my Facebook page. And I'm like, Richard, all I'm telling you is you misunderstood what I said. You got it wrong in your blog. Are you going to correct it? Are you going to say that Steve doesn't believe this? That's all I'm asking. When you say, well, I explained it wrong, I don't, whatever, he says he says I misunderstood. I'm conflating ontology with epistemology. What the fuck is he even talking about? How am I conflating those two things?
Oh, he's on your Facebook right now?
Yeah.
Oh shit. I told you, man. Dude, he went after Bart Ehrman, Tim O'Neill.
Well, I'm not going to feed into his thing. I wrote like one sentence or two sentences back. I'm not feeding into his shtick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. I'm just, yeah.
I'm not going to play that game with him.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing. In his blog, he said that I was talking about being true or false for proposition. Now, proposition has what's called and again, I'm not a logic expert, right? I'm not. I just have a very, very, I would say, tertiary understanding of these topics when it comes to logic. So, but I got the basics, I think. But anyways, a proposition has what's called principle bivalence, where it can only have one truth value. It could be true or it could be false. That's the law of excluded middle. Okay. I think most of us know that. And he argued in his blog that I hold that propositions are either 100% true or 100% false. When I was explaining that on the Deconverted channel, I was talking about classical logic. In classical logic, you only have two states, true or false. Okay? There can be no other value. In multi-value logics, you can have true, false, or U, which would be like unknown. But in a principle bivalence, you have two states, true or false. Now, your beliefs doesn't matter, right? Your beliefs can be an infinite different things, right? I can believe it's true. I can believe it's false. I can believe it's neither. I don't care. I can believe it doesn't make sense. There's a whole bunch of different things for the belief. So I said to him this. I said, Richard, you misunderstood me then. All propositions hold one truth value, true or false, principle bivalence, law of excluded middle in classical logic. I personally believe that trying to shoehorn beliefs into classical loses an awful lot of nuance. So I think that dosastic, fuzzy, or multi-valued makes much more sense to me. This is the same argument I was making with Matt Dillahunty. He jumped into the argument that you believe or you don't believe, which is, of course, true in classical logic. But I wasn't talking about classical when Matt jumped in my Twitter feed. I absolutely agree that there are different degrees of possibility and gradients of belief, or beliefs are gradient. I have never argued otherwise. I very much agree with you that the true or false dichotomy in epistemology wouldn't express beliefs fully and never have ever. Again, I've argued this very point to people. So instead of saying, okay, well, you agree with me, and he says, if the second paragraph is true, he says, if the second paragraph is true, you should have never attempted to argue against your opponents in the burden of evidence issue by appealing to an ontological fact does not apply to epistemology. What the fuck is he talking about? Couldn't he just say, okay, well, that's you agree with me now. Now he's complaining about how I argued it in a hangout, saying that I'm confusing ontological fact with epistemology. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, man.
Well, it's pretty evident he's never read your blogs on it.
I don't think he really bothered to really understand what I was saying in that hangout either, because nobody else said anything about it. Nobody said anything like any of the sort.
What blog is he even, or hangout is he even referring to?
This was a hangout that I did on Fully Deconverged channel. You can go watch it with Avanu.
Oh, I think I may know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good hangout, right?
Yeah.
And he's complaining that I argued it poorly, which I'm like, okay, great. I argued it poorly, fine, whatever. But you still misrepresented my belief because you didn't bother to even ask me. You didn't bother to even clarify anything, right?
Well, no, Carrier's perfect in every way. His blog says so.
I really wanted to give him benefit of the doubt, and now, and it's kind of hard for me to. I got to tell you, because it's just like, even after I agreed with them, he still was like, "Well, you should have been more, should not have confused ontology with epistemology." And I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, dude! I'm not gonna argue with you on this. It's just not worth my time."
And now you know exactly why I won't have any dialogue with him.
Bert Poole is going off on him, though. Holy shit, Bert Poole and Stephen Hoyt is having at it too. But Stephen Hoyt is much more capable of having a that kind of level of discussion with him.
Yeah, he's very nice. I was just looking at his comments.
Yeah. I mean,
polite to a fault.
I mean, all I did was point out to him, was like point out that I had numerous messages of me, people messages of me telling me that they thought he was attacking me. I mean, there was a lot of implicature on that blog. You start off with a title, what you did was misunderstand the burden of proof. Seemed to imply that by mentioning me in there that I misunderstand the burden of proof.
Especially when he then misunderstands what you're arguing and makes you seem like you're arguing something you're not.
And calls it a dysfunctional epistemology.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't believe that. So how is it dysfunctional epistemology? I literally just told you I don't believe what you said I believed. And he's like, well, then you shouldn't have argued it that way, blah, blah, blah. And he went on for like 5 paragraphs. I write like this much. He writes like that much.
The dude has no gift for brevity at all.
Like I said, I'm a little disappointed in people. So yes, I'm venting. It's just like, can't people just stick to the damn arguments kind of thing? I don't know why he felt the need to kind of elevate it. And then he tells me to dial it back, and I'm like, what?
He's the one writing a book in response to like a 20-word reply.
Yeah. I mean, you can go check this out on my Facebook page, people. I'll give you the post if you want. I'm putting the live chat right now if you have Facebook. I mean, feel free to weigh in. And then he's like, he went off on something like, it's kind of known or something. Okay, you don't like people attacking your positions.
Steve, yeah. Anti-Ordinary is now in the chat. Would you like
to
bring her in?
Yeah, she come in.
I'm not sure how to send her a link. Does anybody have her email right to the call?
I'm still willing to help her on it. Trust me. I mean, but she's got to dial it back and say, hey, look, I don't know about this topic. Will you please help me understand it and not involve people like Matt Dillahunty when it's her misunderstanding on the topic. I mean, that's all I'm asking, for God's sake. I'll give you the link, and then can you send it to her? That's the link on the internal.
I guess she's on a call right now, so she's not going to be able to make it.
Okay. Well, I mean, if she's, I don't know, can she listen? Because here, let me explain it over for her, anyway. Where because my argument is that her misunderstanding makes it very difficult for me when she involves other people and she gets things wrong, because then I have to spend my time correcting it. It's one thing to spend my time trying to correct her misunderstandings, but now because of her misunderstandings, I have others to deal with, and it's just ridiculous. So when you tag somebody like Matt Dillahunty on a thread, AO, and you make a false statement, you said, I'll show you the tweet that she made. So I'm an atheist version of young earth creationist now, according to Steve McRae, because, key word there, I believe that the statement, quote, I believe no gods exist, is essentially the same as, quote, I don't believe in God. That is essentially the same thing, AO. At least it entails it. If I say I believe that there are no gods, it entails I do not believe in God. So I would not say that you're acting like a young earth creationist for saying something like that, because that is fine to say something like that. I have no issue with saying something like that. It's not essentially the same, but it does entail it. Okay. So when I say I believe P, that entails I don't believe not P. Does that make sense to AO? Okay. But the converse, and let me explain to you the converse anti-ordinary. If P implies Q, the converse Q implies P doesn't necessarily have to follow. X can imply Y, but Y doesn't have to imply X.
Right. Yeah. Just because A equals B does not always mean that B is going to equal A, actually.
Well, no, that has to happen. That's if A equals B, then B has to equal A. That's reflexivity. Oh no, reflexivity is A equals A, but
right.
A equals B is an equality. So if A equals B, B has to equal A. There's a symmetry there.
Oh, okay.
But what you mean is if A equals B and B equals
what
C,
I'm trying to get at.
There's something called transitivity. A equals B and B equals C. A has to equal C, but that doesn't always follow either, because in matrix theory that doesn't apply.
Right.
Okay. So there's always exceptions to these rules. Okay. But the converse in this particular case does not hold true. Okay. All humans are mammals, but not all mammals are humans. That would be the converse. That clearly does not hold true. So the statement, I believe no gods exist, implies I do not believe in God. But I do not believe in God does not entail I believe that there are no gods. So what you posted, anti-ordinary, is something that is correct, but is not what I was arguing, because you were arguing that I do not believe in God entails I believe God do not exist. That is fundamentally wrong. So give her time to catch up. Yes, Simmer. Yes, it's symmetry. If A equals B, then B has to equal A. There's a symmetry that exists there. But you know what's funny is, like, I'll even with the whole transitivity thing, if I say A equals B and B equals C, A has to equal C, everybody's going to normally agree with that, right? But then you ask them, does that always hold true? And most people say yes, but then you can go, well, no, actually it doesn't in certain types of maths. There's a certain type of, look at, even in real maths, there's a condition where 1 equals 0. Anybody know what it is? Got some smart people out there.
I have no. Math is one of those fields where I am inept.
We've talked about this on my channel before when we had Dr. Rachel Trailer.
I wasn't there for that one, I don't think.
Okay, there's something called the zero ring, and the zero ring is basically where you have the multiplicative identity equal to the additive identity. So 1 equals 0. So you're not saying that the numeral, you're not saying that the number 1 is equal to the value of 0. You're saying that the multiplicative identity is equal to the additive identity.
Right.
Okay? So 1 equals 0 is fine. So if somebody looks at that and goes 1 equals 0, what are you, an idiot? You have to know what you're working with, right? You have to know what field you're talking about. If you're talking about ring theory, then that's perfectly acceptable. Or I'll give you another example, which we had on my channel. Again, we're talking about Galois theory. 1 plus 1 equals 2, correct? I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that, I hope. But let me check. Brian, just make sure. Brian, 1 plus 1 equals 2? You guys, yeah, okay.
Sorry, I got a bad mic now.
Oh, okay. Well, listen in. All right, Jim, 1 plus 1 equals 2, right?
Yes.
Now, but if I said in Galois theory, 1 plus 1 equals 0, that would be a true statement, because
yes,
in Galois, I'm going to have 4 because I'm changing my field. So you're only using the elements 0, 1, 2, and 3. You're not changing bases. Sure. You're not changing bases. 1 plus 1 equals 10 in binary is still 1 plus 1 equals 2. Changing a base does not change the value. It just changed what the symbols look like, because 10 absolutely. In binary is 2.
It's like in one equation, I can equal imaginary. In another equation, it can mean something else.
Yeah, the letter I had another hangout like that too when I did summations. I can mean index, right? Doesn't necessarily have to mean the imaginary numbers.
Yeah, it depends on the context. That's why it's so important that when you go into a conversation that you either adapt to their terminology or you make yours clear.
Yep, exactly. I thank God that you said that. You have to know the context of the conversations. So when people jump into these context, when Matt jumped into my conversation on Twitter, I don't think he was seeing that we were talking about multi-valued logic. Now, he may have, but when I asked him about it, he didn't give me any evidence for it. And I only tweeted him 5 or 6 things, and he blocked me for that. But then you have, so Anna, see, but here's the thing. I'm trying to help Anna Ordinary out. I'm trying to explain this to her. And what is her comment? So ignorant, LOL. Do you not see now the feedback when you try to go out of your way to explain somebody in concepts that they clearly do not have any knowledge on? This is what I'm getting back.
I don't know. I just really wish. I mean, this would all be avoided if people would not take you out of context, and if people don't. I mean, she obviously didn't understand. She obviously doesn't understand that she's misrepresenting you, and if she does, then that's shitty. But so I mean, obviously, she didn't even understand your position to begin with.
But you do agree this is a converse statement, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's not originally what I said. It can't be what I said. It's converse.
Yeah, it's.
Christy, I am funny as hell. What the hell's wrong with you? Laugh.
Right?
Christy said I'm not funny.
To a Christian in general, they could say that I believe that that no gods exist, or they could say that that they only believe in one God, essentially, but that doesn't mean that they believe that gods exist.
Yeah, that's weird. That makes no sense. If you believe one God exists, you believe gods exist, right? I mean, granted, you're talking about plurality, but when we're talking about these concepts, when we generally have a understanding. When we mean God, we mean any God or gods in general. Now, you could mean the specific Christian God, but you can word these things 1,000 different ways. Right. I can say an atheist is somebody who believes that gods don't exist or God doesn't exist. We know what they mean by that. OK, it's like, who cares if they mean God or gods? Oh, by the way, 1 plus 1 equals 2 is definitely not subjective. It's an objective fact. It's called an a priori objective fact. You don't discover 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's not known a posteriori. So it's called a priori fact.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who, if people don't believe that they should, read some basic.
Oh, I had to argue about that 2 days ago, dude. That math was not objective. That 1 plus 1 was not an objective fact. I was like, oh God, where do you go from here?
It's objective in its field.
What's that?
It's objective in its field.
Yeah,
like you said.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if 1 + 1 = 2 in the reals for me, it's objectively real for you. I mean, it's the reals, right? I mean, you don't get to go, oh well, in my belief system, 1 + 1 = 3. Well, then you're not talking about the reals any longer. If I say 1 + 1 = 0, I'm not talking about the reals anymore. I'm talking about a different field in Galois theory. So,
you know where you go with that? If someone when people say stuff like that, to me, it's just proof to the world that we do need a eugenics program.
yeah.
Because I don't know how to deal with that level of dumb.
Oh shit! He said eugenics.
Yeah, we're gonna get demonetized. Yeah, I don't sleep very often. I've been sleeping really shitty lately. So, Tom, yeah, I don't sleep often. But let's get some feedback here. Anna Ordinary, low bar, I guess. I don't know. She's not. I mean, I don't think she's even trying to learn about anything. I'm not surprised if this is your company. I mean, what the hell, people? You see how negative people can be when you're trying to help them out. If you don't know about something and somebody's trying to explain it to you when they may not be an expert in it, because I'm not, but I know enough about it where I'm not utterly inept.
Well, I mean, I don't even think that I know her, much less have any reason for her to dislike me. I mean, I haven't said anything untrue or inflammatory. I don't think. But then you never know.
I've said a few inflammatory things, but that's me. That doesn't reflect Steve. The fact that I'm an asshole does not reflect on Steve. So,
Ed and Aaron, I don't need or want you to teach me. Then don't. But don't tag people on and say shit that I didn't say. Okay, because you clearly said something I did not say, AO. Clearly, you said, quote, I'm an atheist version of the younger creationist now, according to Steve, because I believe that the statement, I believe no gods exist, is essentially the same as I don't believe in God. I would never say that you are acting like a younger creationist for saying something that's true. I believe no gods exist is essentially the same as I don't believe in God. One is entailed by the other. You misrepresented me. And because of that, Matt Dillahunty, who knows these topics much more than you do, will look at that and go, well, Steve must be an idiot if he thinks that believing no gods exist is not entailing I don't believe in God. Because that is basic shit that you do not seem to understand, Anti-Ordinary. Because you don't understand it, you did the converse of what I said. I said, and even in your own post here, even in your own thread, I said, I do not believe gods exist. Okay? That does not entail I believe gods do not exist. You did what's called the converse. If P implies Q, the converse is Q implies P. So you did not relate to him what I said. If you related him what I said properly, you wouldn't have related him the converse. You would have said, quote, I'm an atheist version of the young creationist now, according to McCrae, because now this is not exactly what I called her young creationist for, but for arguendo's sake, because I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God entails I believe gods exist. In which case, Matt would have said you're wrong.
Okay.
If she would have said what I have actually said, Matt would have told her she was wrong, because Matt has said this many times. So does everybody see that she clearly told him the converse of what I said, which changes the entire context of everything? Because she's just laughing it all off. I mean, she doesn't think it's a big deal to misrepresent somebody. I think it's a pretty big deal when you misrepresent somebody who already has enough misrepresentations for people that don't understand the topic, saying things that I say that I don't say.
Right.
You know, it's really frustrating because I have to spend my time. And she's just like, oh, I credit him on the video. You tagged him on the video, which means that he will see this if he decides to. And he'll see something that I didn't actually say, that I wouldn't have actually argued. Because I'm telling you for a fact that not believing something is not the same that you're believing the opposite. Right. Nobody in this chat will tell you otherwise. Nobody in the live chat will tell you otherwise. I almost guarantee it. Is there one person who honestly thinks that if I say I do not believe that the gumballs are even, I'm asserting that they're odd? Does anybody besides Anti-Ordinary believe that? Because if you do, I would like to get you in because I will help you. If there's any person who says I do not believe gods exist is equivalent or entails I believe there are no gods, come in. I will help you. Let me know if you do, and you don't believe that. Let me know as well. Tell me if you agree with me or not. I go out of my way to make sure people agree or don't agree because I like to be challenged, but I will not allow people to misrepresent my views as Anti-Ordinary did.
You know my position. I agree full-heartedly because there is no fighting that because that's just the basic law. It's basic bloody logic.
It's literally it is so basic. And then when everybody tells her she's wrong, she will not capitulate on a topic that she doesn't know anything about. I mean, all she has to do is produce one citation, one source, one logical expert to come in here and tell me that if you believe something is the case, or if you don't believe something is the case, that means you believe it to be the case. With the exception of negation raising, which I've already discussed about, which is, again, dealing with pragmatics. It has nothing to do with logic. So Cynical Logan says, I agree with you, Steve. Not BP doesn't entail B, not P. Exactly. Right. And she thinks that not BP entails B, not P. And I don't know where to go with that. Another straw man. How am I straw manning her? I'm showing the evidence. Does she just throw out a fallacies like whatever's going to stick? She said I was moving the goalposts. Didn't understand that. She says that I'm straw manning. Doesn't understand that.
You're moving the straw goalpost, Steve.
Well, the worst part is I've gone out of my way to try to help her, which I'm no longer going to do probably. But I am pointing out that clearly she misrepresented me. Regardless of what you think, there's no possible way a rational person could say that she didn't misrepresent me. You know?
She says, I do understand, you foolish person.
No, really. Okay, AO, why don't you explain to everybody how not believing something entails that you believe it? Go ahead. We can wait.
I can predict the answer.
Yeah, of course she won't be able to.
Well,
it doesn't make any sense.
It's going to be because it does, Steve.
Because reasons.
Yeah.
That was never her position. The fuck it wasn't, Anti-Ordinary. The fuck it wasn't. You sat there and told me I showed the tweets already. Right here. He said right here. Wait. Let me read this very carefully. My objection is simply let me screen share this so I can get it. Okay. My objection is simply this. You claim that atheist is person who believes there is no gods. That is a fact. An atheist who believes somebody who believes there's no gods is an atheist. Sorry. You said you believe there is no gods. I'm trying to get her single plural verb uses here. You said you believe there is no gods. Has anybody ever in the 5 years I've been on YouTube said I believe there are no gods?
No.
Okay. If you are out there and you've heard me ever say that, you need to tell me. So she says I've said this. Anti-Ordinary, find me the evidence of where I've said that, right? Oh, but this is her evidence for that. Yet you're still not an atheist by your own definitions. This is her evidence. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Steve is at his finest. She's trying to berate me because of her own ineptitude. She says, you believed there are no gods. I said, I do not believe gods exist. She is equating this to this. Is there anybody out there that doesn't see the problem here? because I will be happy to explain it to you.
She's misunderstanding it in the tweet again. She said you tweeted it. It's in that screenshots. Read them.
Right. I'm showing the tweet. I do not believe gods exist. This is translated into her mind as you said believes there are no gods. This is not this. There are different things. This up here entails this. The converse, this does not entail this. I don't know how else to explain it. This is not that complicated.
Apparently it is, though.
I mean, it's just so blatantly there, and yet she doesn't see it. There's more than one screenshot. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Show me, AO, right now, any screenshot that says, I believe gods do not exist. And if there was, that I might have messed up, because I do type in the middle of the night. I will even arguendo say there could be somewhere in the last 5 years where I fucked up and I just said something incorrectly. Okay. It happens. Although I don't think so. I really don't. Okay. But just in case. But she says they are in your face. What the fuck does that even mean?
They're in your face, Steve. I don't.
Yeah, Zabesky says, hi, Steve, English isn't my first language, and I'm high as a kite, and I get it. I mean, I'm hoping you, I mean, again, I'm not trying to dog on her for Christ's sake. I want you to see that enough's enough. Because of her misunderstandings of what a converse is, because her misunderstandings of basic logic, she tags somebody in it who already has misconceptions about what I say. It makes it very difficult for me when people do that. Now, I'm willing to give her still the benefit of the doubt and for her to show any evidence for her position. She can show any evidence of me making the claim that I believe that there are no gods. Okay, never happened. Or she can find the claim that what was the other one? I'm trying to think here. There's two claims she made. What was the other one? I lost train of thought here. That I don't believe in God means I believe gods don't exist. So she says, in those screenshots, you say you don't believe in God or some variation. I don't believe in God. Yes, I'm showing the screenshot now, AO, for God fucking sake.
Why don't you just come in here so we can just discuss this, and you can say how you're understanding things or misunderstanding things, because this really needs to get sussed out. This is not going to get sussed out just by name calling in the chat and Steve trying to address these short comments.
Tom says, I'll debate Steve right now and show him about local realism, but chances are we agree. I think so. Yeah, I actually deny local realism, but on that, Tom, I will say this. I'm happy to say that there might be global variable models like the pilot wave theory when it comes to Bohmian mechanics that will satisfy the Bell inequality. But Copenhagen and any other theory like that, to me, it doesn't make sense to have local realism. You can't satisfy the Bell inequality with any local hidden variable model. Now, do you agree with that, Tom? Because if you agree with that, then we can never have a debate on it because we actually agreed fully. So does anybody else agree with me on that? Jim, do you make sense to you?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
You have no idea what the fuck I said. Shut up. Athena disagrees. She says, or he says, a pilot wave has been disproven. I have an article on it. No, it has not. Pilot wave hasn't been disproven. Pilot wave is actually the only problem with pilot wave theory is it uses more assumptions than you need, so it's not really parsimonious.
What theory?
Pilot wave, called Bohmian mechanics.
Oh, okay.
But I am curious. Tom knows his stuff. I'm curious what he agrees. He says, like I said, we would agree, and where we would disagree, people would fall asleep. Fair point. Yeah. I don't think that's really that ubiquitous what we said. Yeah. So give you mods so you can post links. Sure. Yeah, I'll read what you have, but yeah, no, pilot wave is still very much alive. It just uses more suppositions than other models, but it does satisfy the Bell inequality. But it uses what's called the integral path formula to kind of map out every single possible path of a particle, but you lose locality for it. No, so non-local theory. Yeah.
Steve, SJ wants to know if she can facilitate a debate or a discussion with you and AO.
I don't see. Here's the thing. What is there to debate? This is like so fundamental. I'm happy to explain to her, but this is not really something that's even debatable. This is like debating whether 1 + 1 = 2. You know. Oh, now, I mean, if she wants to talk about it, I'll be happy to. But I mean, I don't know what a possible argument would be. Yeah, Dustin, Feynman's infinite paths, exactly what it is. Feynman's integral path formula. I did a presentation on that not long ago.
Steve, there's somebody in the chat that's named Gonna Go For It.
Yeah,
do you know what he's commenting on?
You can block him if you want. I have nothing to say to him. He's a troll, complete another troll.
Okay.
I have him blocked, so I can't block.
All right, I'm gonna let the other mods handle that.
Yeah, if Peter's in the chat, I have nothing to say to him. He is he's part of that whole atheist girl cult following that just spews people bullshit and says that people are harassing people and attacking people and all that crap. Just get rid of him. Yeah. Yeah, for some reason, there's a whole group on Twitter that just goes around and just seems to want to attack people, and I don't have anything to say to any of those people. They're vile, disgusting people, in my opinion.
He said you made a comment, or that you said he was a pedophile.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's what he's been saying.
I've never said that. Find me evidence of that. I've never said any such thing. That's just fucking ridiculous. First of all, I have never accused anybody of being a pedophile in the 5 years I've been on YouTube, because that's just a heinous thing that I would have to have overwhelming evidence for somebody to for that kind of remark. So that's what I'm saying. They accuse you of all this bullshit. This is the same group that accused me of harassing scientist Mel. They make up all this shit and then they expect you to go defend yourself. And I'm just not interested.
Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Yeah, he's just a troll. Now what's funny is there was actually a pedophile in our community that I found out about like a year and a half later. And what's the sad part was he was somebody that actually helped a lot of people out. He actually gave people one of their breaks. And I kind of figured, I didn't figure anything was he never like had any predilection or anything like that, but he just vanished one day, and I didn't know what happened to him. He just went away. Somebody had found out he got in prison for 10 years. I'll tell you who it is off air, but I don't think I want to say it on air. Some people may know. But yeah, Justin, I don't ever bother to defend positions that I don't make. There's people out there that just want to troll and cause drama. I'm just not interested with it. He's one of those people that just wants to cause drama with me. I blocked him all on Twitter. Anybody who accuses me of things that doesn't have evidence can be blocked. There's no reason to you don't defend yourself on false accusations of shit.
You shouldn't have to.
Yeah. But I know exactly what he's referring to, but no, I never used the word pedophile, and I don't think he is a pedophile at all. Not at all. It has nothing to do with pedophilia. So that he completely fabricated that. But yeah, I'm lost. I don't know. I'm just so tired of some of these trolls, man. You know, they all they want to do is cause drama.
Yep.
And then they wonder why do we have our little echo chambers? Well, they have their own little echo chambers, you know.
Well, I've noticed that. Like I have, like, okay, so I'm pretty new to the Twitter world, the Twitterverse. but I've never had a problem with people just blocking me before, like on Facebook or anything like that. And but again, I've never been in so many arguments before. It just seems like people on Twitter are just so reactionary. You know, they're just looking for drama, basically, like you said. And it's so frustrating that you can't have a conversation with somebody without them, you know, just either retweeting the crap out of you and misrepresenting you. It's already happened to me several times, or just blocking you for just ridiculous reasons.
Hey, yeah, well, I got blocked by somebody today because of this whole anti-ordinary thing, because they were saying that I had committed the appeal to authority fallacy because of this drama with anti-ordinary. And all I asked was, okay, what is the logical form for appeal to authority? They couldn't give it. They couldn't even tell me what the thing was. And I said, anti-ordinary says, Google it. And I was like, I studied this in college. I did 3 videos on this. I know what the hell appeal to authority is. Okay. I don't need to go Google it. I'm asking if you accuse somebody of a fallacy, you should know what it entails. And they couldn't do it. And so I said, okay, so you don't believe that I committed this fallacy any longer, right? You're not making that claim. Well, if that's what you want to believe, I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to believe, because you have no evidence for it. And I got blocked for that. Told I was passive aggressive. I'm like, there's nothing passive about that. I was told to be aggressive. I was like, I'm telling you, you have no evidence that I committed this fallacy. I call you out on it, and then you block me thinking that it's going to hurt me for some reason. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
How did you get your Twitter to look like that, like the different colors?
Yeah, Google it. Yeah, I mean,
hey, Jim. If you think Twitter's bad, you should make a Tumblr.
Oh no! I'm good on that. I've tumbled once or twice.
It's quite the trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
So I was one of the earlier 4chaners. I was a Christian 4chaner.
Oh, you were a dank Christian May 4chaner.
Oh yeah. Oh no. This is before that. This is like I'm older than you. Give me credit for it.
Yeah, he was trolling on like bulletin boards systems. He was a sysop. Okay. Did he have a where section?
Oh man, that is very yeah.
Can I ask this though, since we have 133 people watching? If anybody you ever hear says something about me that doesn't make sense, or they're accusing me of something that doesn't make sense, you have full carte blanche to ask them for evidence and come to me with it and ask me about it. Anybody can do that.
Oh, I was going to do that anyways. I don't need your permission.
Well, fuck you. Yeah, no, anybody can, because I'm telling you right here and now, everybody who's ever accused, who said something has never been able to back it up with evidence, not once. And I call them out on that. And that's why they eventually get blocked. Either I block them or they block me. I have zero tolerance for that. What I'm doing here is I'm showing you the evidence, literally showing you the evidence of the mistake that anti-ordinary made, her misrepresentation of me. This is backing up my claim. And no uncertainty. There's no equivocation here. There's no ambiguity. It's straight up. She made a gargantuan mistake and misrepresented me. And by doing so, tag somebody who might see that is going to go, oh, well, Steve's an idiot for thinking that, for something that I didn't think. You know, I mean, there's a couple people in the live chat that have done similar things to me, but I don't block everybody for it. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt so many times, but there's people I've literally forgave, and they've done the same things over and over and over again, and still continue to do it. I read their comments every so often. They'll tell me one thing, and then they'll go on a video and just lambast me like I can't see it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I know who you are, people.
Okay.
Jim.
Steve, I have to make a correction.
Kidding. Yeah.
In his comments, he said sex offender, not pedophile. My apologies.
Yeah. I've never said he was a sex offender. Never. That's not.
Okay.
That was not. He has no record or anything like that. There was a complete misunderstanding between a situation that cult group came in and tried to blow out of proportion to cause drama between people, just like they did with me and Melanie, 7 times Mel. That's it. And he plays into it. That happened over a year and a half ago. And he's been playing that drama card for almost 2 years now, probably at least a year or two. That's how pathetic it is. That's how pathetic these trolls are. Okay. Yeah, like I said, there's a very long backstory with that, but it involves a friend of mine that I'm not going to get into. Yeah, he's just playing this stupid, silly fucking. Let's accuse Steve of a bunch of bullshit stuff, and he knows damn well that certain things were said to me in confidence that I can't talk about, and I refuse to. So I'm not making any claims about him. I just think he's a piece of shit, and that I don't have to back up because that's my opinion. He's a piece of shit. So. We seem to attract a lot of them. I don't get it. Oh, Darth Dawkins is on Talk. Darth Dawkins called in a few times to Talk Heathens, Gob. And he got booted both times.
Darth Dawkins is a trip and a half, man.
Yeah. Did you see what I wrote on Twitter about him? He's the shit. He's the shit that shit would shit out if a shit could shit.
Oh, shit.
Try saying that alliteration 5 times fast.
I love it. That's a tongue twister you don't want in your mouth.
Steal that from me, people. Go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, you don't have a stuttering problem. That's bullshit.
No, I never said I had a stuttering problem. My speech impediment has nothing to do with stuttering. No, I don't get tongue. Well, okay, I don't get tongue-tied. Yeah, I was about to say I don't get tongue-tied over alliterations. I just got tongue-tied. How apropos. The irony. Actually, that's not irony, but whatever.
Yeah, I jinxed you. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, do you guys know what irony is? Everybody seems to get that wrong. That is what I did was not irony.
I don't know. I kind of thought that was ironic.
No, irony is like something saying like a pilot who's afraid of heights is ironic.
But it's not ironic that you were getting tongue-tied as
no,
you're saying.
That's called a coincidence. Yeah, that's not.
But it's an ironic coincidence.
Isn't it ironic? No, it's not. I love that song. I do. I love her, but that's not irony in her song.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. I swear to God.
Yeah. Man, that's why you have to. Every week, it's got to be something. You got to fuck up my psyche, Steve. I got to relearn.
You know what it is? It's a quantum jump to a new reality, and the way you learned it is different now because of the Mandela effect.
Dude.
Oh, you're probably right.
Yeah.
It was back when I was watching the Bernstein Bears.
Yeah. Rain on your wedding day is not irony. Yeah.
No,
irony is a stop sign with the letter with go on it. Irony is a Navy guy that doesn't like the ocean or can't swim, I guess. Those are ironic things. Yeah. Christy Santiago at Steve McCrae. I had no idea this kind of crap was going on. I stayed doing research and tried to learn stuff. I almost wish I didn't know. I feel some kind of way about all this. No, these involve nothing other people. These are my own. I have issues with people. I've been around a very long time, and I know their true nature. And I got to tell you, I hate to say this, but I swear I do think that I'm pretty damn good at predicting things when it comes to behavior. And I know when I know people. Just the other day, like one of the same cult followings, the I Am Atheist girl cult following. Her name is Miss Atheist. She's just a very vile person. She's the one that accused me of harassing scientist Mel, which is just obscene because scientist Mel is a friend of mine. But and it wasn't like sexually harassing. No, it had nothing to do with that. They said I was continuing to talk to her after she said she didn't want to continue her conversation, which is wrong. Go look at the tweets. When she said she was done the conversation, I haven't tweeted her since. So they're wrong about that. I told somebody that if you go against them, go against her, she's going to start saying that you are mansplaining to her and harassing her and assaulting her. Just like Chris, you remember how you told me that if I go against Richard Carrier, he's going to get more personal attacks with me?
Yep.
You were dead on. You know people, right? Because you know the history. I know the history of these people because I've been around a very, very long time. So I know things that you may not all know, but unfortunately, things involve other people. And you know, and I do believe if you can't produce the evidence like I did with AO, you probably, you know, don't have a great case for something, right? Even though you personally know things that other people don't know.
Right.
Yeah. But the fact after a year and a half that he comes around to freaking try to start drama again, that tells you all you need to know about his character. But I will tell you this, and I can find the screenshots if you're interested. These people literally threatened to kick me off Twitter, get me banned off YouTube. They threatened to get SJ removed from her job. They threatened to dox people. So these things I can't support.
That was one of the first things that I shared on Twitter was, you know, them trying to get SJ fired. That was ridiculous. Like, just because we have differing viewpoints does not mean that you go in and attack somebody's personal life.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I disagree with SJ on just about everything under the moon.
Right.
But you know what? She's nice, and I would never, ever, ever think to do anything, even to people I dislike with the Fire of a Thousand Suns. I would not do that. That is just crossing the line. That is just unexcusable behavior. There's a reason why I don't have anything to do with people like Atheist Rue.
Who?
Atheism is unstoppable.
Oh, Devin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't listen to him stuff either.
Yeah, because he did that to everyone that disagreed with him. Doxed as many people as he wanted.
Yeah,
it's disgusting behavior.
Yeah, and I don't deal with any of those types of people. But this is the group that's on Twitter that I just have nothing to do with. But the fact that the fact they hold a grudge for like 2 years is just tells you all you need to know.
Oh yeah.
And then it was funny because the true story. I hope SJ's still in the live chat. She can back this up. But I didn't know who it was. I didn't remember. She had to remind me. But it was SJ that said, "Hey, Steve, can you unblock Atheist Girl?" And I was like, "Oh God, it's been like a year or two, whatever." I said, "Why?" And she's like, "Well, you know, she seems to be a good person, and you know, just for me." And I was like, "Okay, I like SJ, sure." So I unblocked her. Within not even like an hour or two, holy shit, was I inundated by just absolute bullshit. And I was like, "Oh, I'm done. No. Screw this." And SJ was all apologetic. She was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I was like, "It's okay." I was like, "I'm never going to trust your opinion again." But no, I'm kidding. But, I was like, "Yeah, I should have known better." But you know, you got thousands of people you deal with, right? I mean, you're going to find all types, and a lot of people want to take you down. It is called tall poppy syndrome, and my poppy is not that high. I mean, I'm not even trying to be, but they see people succeeding, and they think that they for some reason they want to punch up, and I've never punched up. I've never have. If I think somebody's wrong, I'll say something, but I don't make videos just to attack people. You know, or just to make videos because I think they have a wrong position. Very, very seldom do I do that. I used to. I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't ever, but I've been trying to minimize that. I used to all the time with the Clown Car Posse, but it was kind of hard not to. They got so much shit wrong.
I haven't done it yet, but Mike Winger really makes me want to, just because I feel like that he came out and took advantage of my situation to kind of exploit the whole thing. You know what? So now every single time that I watch him in something, because I don't watch anything on his channel, but he periodically shows up on Pine Creek's videos and some things like that. And just every single time I see him presenting his position, the more I want to go to his channel and just start making response videos.
I got to tell you though, go watch the video. What channel was it on? Oh my God. It was on, I think it was on Sirius's channel, but it could have been on Modern Debates. But go watch the video where Sirius just destroys Mike. I'm trying to remember the video that
I think I've seen a couple of those.
Oh my God, Sirius was fucking genius level. Even I was like, okay. what the hell's going on here? I was like, damn, Sir's taking smart pills. What's happening here?
Oh, Sir's is brilliant.
Oh, I know. I'm just giving him shit, but he did an amazing job, and you could just sense Mike getting so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and Sirius is a really nice guy. Like, I mean, he presents his well, and I mean, Mike is a really nice guy too. I mean,
yeah, no, I like Mike. It was just his apologetics suck.
Yeah, but yeah, it's that's the only person who's really made me ever want to make a response video.
I didn't check my messages, so sorry if people want links. I'll get you right now. Oh, hey, since this was made public, I can tell you. Guess what? You guys are gonna shit on this. This is like big news. Good news though. So you guys know the story that for a long time this guy named Heretic was one of the trolls in the Great Debate community. He's one of he's just inept. I think he's inept as can be.
Oh, he is.
And, yeah,
he hurts on very many levels.
And he's saying that I'm wrong, Ozzy's wrong, Malpass is wrong, SEP is wrong, everybody's wrong but him, right? Okay, fair enough. He gets the logic wrong. He got everything wrong. Burt Poole has been destroying him on Burt Poole's public G+ page. Well, the funniest thing was, check this out. Heretic has said that we are all reading SEP wrong. We are all reading Dr. Paul Draper's entry on atheism and agnosticism incorrectly, and it's not the intent of the writer. Dr. Alex Malpass has reached out to Dr. Paul Draper, and they're going to have us hang out together to explain why Heretic is an idiot.
Oh, wow. I cannot wait for that.
Christmas came early.
It's already here.
I'm like, holy shit, that would be like epic. And yet we told her, Burt Poole told Heretic about this, and Heretic is like, so what? He's like, he doesn't see an issue with it. He thinks that he thinks that Paul Draper doesn't know his own paper.
Paul Draper's misrepresenting himself.
Yeah, he's strawmanning himself. This is the level that we deal with, though. This is the shit that I have to fucking put up with. And more good news. Nate, Nate's a patron to this channel, and I adore Nate. He's a smart guy. I use him for legal advice.
I actually think you stand a good chance.
And let me meet you real quick because it might be a personal conversation there. Oh, Chris. So, Aaron Ron is Facebook. This is like a day of catching up gossip, I guess. So Aaron Ron, his Facebook page said that his lawyer made a video that said if anybody asserts atheism is just the belief that gods don't exist, show them this. And I had to explain on my own Facebook page that his lawyer is the same lawyer that I talk to, and that is a Patreon to my channel, who actually has said in his own words, he agrees with me, he agrees with Alex, he agrees with Ozzy, that Heretic is wrong, and that he just wanted to finish up the series, and he just wants to basically clickbait. And he was in a hangout the other day when he said that with Burt Poole too, but he has actually wrote in a comment for 2019 that he will no longer make any videos this year about me or about the topic. How about that?
Good.
Yay. And I'll show you the screenshot so we have it on record as soon as I can find my freaking Facebook page.
How's it going, Steve?
Who popped in here? I'm not looking.
It's Dave.
Oh, hey buddy. Okay. Hey. Okay. So let me now I'm looking. So let me screen share again. So can you guys read this? So we get it on record. Go Nate. Yeah, Nate likes to troll, I think, a little bit. He definitely, and he even said Heretic's wrong. He said Heretic is wrong about agnosticism, because Heretic said this, for those who know logic, not believing P and not believing not P. So basically not be P and not be not P. He calls that logically invalid. He says that's illogical. Dr. Alex Malpass explained to him why he was wrong, who has a PhD in logic, explained to him why he was wrong. And yet Heretic thinks that Malpass is completely wrong. So even Nate said, no, Heretic, you're wrong. So what does this say? Can you read that, Dave?
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, read it out.
This was part 4 of the series. I told you I was going to make one more video to finish the series. For 2019, I will not make any more videos on this topic involving Steve McRae. I will 100% hold this claim.
Woo! Yay! Now, I don't know if that means that he said he wasn't going to make it on the topic at all. That's worded kind of queerly, in my opinion, because he could say, well, that just says that I'm not going to have any involving you, but I'm still going to talk about atheism. He told me he wasn't going to talk about the topic at all. He said he was done with it because, you know, he just gets so much wrong, and he just straw mans. I mean, I love MP, but he's the king of straw man. He has never understood this from the beginning, and he's been fighting a battle in his own mind from day one. You know,
he just sees all of his opponents as flammable.
He sees them all as windmills.
Yeah.
So
well, I don't know about you, Steve, but I am definitely a windmill.
You
I mean, just the other day I was standing outside and I was spinning round and round and round. Like, yeah, I'm totally one.
But do you generate your own power?
I'm much more of a Don Quixote on peyote.
He wasn't on peyote. He had a mental disorder. I actually saw the play and read the book.
I don't care what he had. I'm telling you what I got.
He was tilting at windmills. Tom says he's just not going to mention your name, but 10 more videos. Yeah, you're probably right. But at least he won't involve me in his melodrama, because he can't ever show that I'm wrong. That's the funniest thing. And he has all these he has about, I don't know. I don't watch his videos. I have not watched a video of his in ages. I've gone over to occasionally check some of the comments, but I don't actually watch the video. But he has all these acolytes that go over and go, oh my God, MP, you're so right. And everybody who said that are people that I've talked to that I've realized don't know goddamn fucking shit about this topic.
Steve,
every single one of them. It's hilarious.
Steve, I am committed to asserting that you're wrong and providing absolutely no rational evidence as to why.
They don't either. You think you're funny, but I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, I gotta admit, MP tries. Again, I haven't watched his videos, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
You are exaggerating. Clearly, you don't know what exaggeration is. You're wrong.
Is that irony?
I don't know.
That might be. That might be. I don't know. Irony is difficult. It's kind of like a jealousy and envy. There's a huge difference. You envy things that people have. You're jealous about things people can take away from you. So if you're married and somebody looks at your wife, you get jealous. But if I look at somebody else's wife, that's envy.
I still don't know. It seemed like you getting tongue-tied over saying that you can't get or you don't get tongue-tied might be still.
That might be. See, I think it's coincidence. No, that's coincidence.
A coincidence is like an event that happens. Like
it just happened to be at the same time. Irony is something that's internal. Like my paradigmatic example is a pilot that is afraid to fly is ironic.
But like irony is a state of affairs or an event that
literary irony.
That's literary irony.
Deliberately contrary to what one expects.
Yeah, but in conversation though, I mean it's not considered literary irony.
I think it's transfers over.
No. Like if you look at the definition, it's just a state of affairs or an event that seems deliberately contrary to what one expects and is often amusing as a result.
I guess as a colloquial version of it, if that's what you're saying, then I guess so.
Like if you're
I'm talking about literary
technique, then you wouldn't apply that to a verbal conversation anyway, because like no situation, unless it's written about in a literary sense, could be ironic if you're going to hold to only that definition.
Chelsea V says, do you want a display picture? I guess he made one for Shannon. I'll look at Shannon's when I get a chance. I'm sure you do wonderful artwork. I've been changing my avatar a couple times. I just literally changed it again on every other medium. I just haven't changed it on Hangouts. So, but maybe you can make something for the non sequitur show. Would be cool. All right. Anyways, I gotta get ready here soon for. I will be on the place tonight. It's funny because I'm all talked out now. I don't know if I can do another hour. talking to Dr. Jones on a topic that I'm not that familiar with. I had to really dive into it, pragmatic theory and speech act theory. God is a hard subject.
What is the topic?
Speech act theory.
Oh,
interesting.
And it's fascinating theory. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy reading about it, but I don't retain it because there's just so many different categories.
I gotta ask you, Steve.
Yeah.
Did you intentionally throw Godless Engineer into the fray with Wonton because he's so annoying to deal with?
No, there's kind of a backstory with that, but long story short, he thought he was doing it that night, and I was tired anyways, so I was just like, go ahead and take it. I don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some miscommunication there, but I was in bed, literally, and so even when I was in the hangout, I was on my laptop because I was so tired. I've been up. I couldn't have slept for like, I don't know, 30 some odd hours, and I don't know why. I just wasn't able to sleep.
Yeah, is my audio coming through more clearly? I realized the other day that apparently the mic on my
you sound great.
thing is cool. Okay, the other mic I had that I was using before had something wrong with it, and I didn't know. It started sounding terrible suddenly. People were complaining.
Yeah, I think speech act. Sean Carroll says speech act was interesting. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm curious. When you take apart a sentence, like what you're actually saying to the person you're saying it to. Like I used the example earlier. Can you pass the salt? Has a different implicature to somebody who's listening to it that takes it as a directive rather than interrogatory to do something as a command. Or you have like what's called a commissive, where I say like, I promise to do something. But anyway, so let's kind of wrap this up. Any last minute questions from the live chat? You guys have been great. I'm surprised we had 130 people watching when we had like other shows going on. Thanks, I guess. This was a bitch session that I'm not going to front about it. This was me bitching for a change. I don't often do it. I guess you got to do it sometimes. But this was a case where I'm just very frustrated when people that make these kinds of huge gargantuan errors don't see them and then try to place the blame on you, or in this case, me. So
that's because you're wrong.
Did you watch the first half? I'm just curious, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen most of it.
Okay.
I missed like a few minutes in the very beginning.
Yeah. So
I'm not actually
hoping we
saying
can
you're
put
wrong.
this
I'm
all
just
behind it.
being a shit disturber.
Well, I mean, I'm once I vent, I'm usually done with it. AO will probably make a huge video about this and bitch and moan and go, "Oh, look what Steve did. Steve's a bully. Steve's harassing me." I don't know what the hell she'll say. You call somebody out, and that's what you get. You get people using all these terminologies like you're attacking them. And people say, "Well, aren't you doing that with Carrier?" Well, no, Carrier attacked a lot of things about me personally, but he's a friend that I wouldn't have expected to do that. But he says he wasn't. Fair enough. But it is funny. He literally says he agrees with me on just about everything, except that he just thinks that atheists have already met their burden. And I'm like, okay, that's a one minor thing we disagree on. Then how the hell did you write seven pages, including my name on it?
Yeah, I mean,
makes no sense.
The only area that it's like, if you're gonna look at your argument from like the purely philosophical, like whether or not it like logically follows, etc., kind of standpoint, then I'd say you're right. The only area that I still tend to disagree with you on is I think that like over time, definitions over time, like the way we use words changes, and if it changes enough within like the common usage, it can be counterproductive to cling to old meanings. And I think
I don't think that's an argument, though. I mean,
it's not an argument against what you're saying being correct or not, but it's more of like the question of, does it matter if you're right, and is it useful to like kind of bang that drum, I guess.
I mean,
that's I'm open to either side of that, right? But
yeah, I just think that just it doesn't make sense to me to have an argument. Well, we have something that works really well. Let's make something that doesn't work very well, just because people like it more. Now that can happen, sure, and it may happen. I'm trying to fight against that. I don't want to see that happen because that to me is dumbing down in society. I mean, do you argue that we should have definitions that are less precise that lead to contradictions? I mean, you're a logical, rational person. I mean, they lead to contradictions. They lead to irrationality.
Like, as an example, right? Like I get semantic over like, even though something might be like correct, it's like what is its usefulness as far as like how people react to things. Like I had a big conversation with somebody about like calling people out versus calling people in, like that. Like if you know, like the call out culture versus like trying to like talk to people who are maybe causing an issue and explain to them why in a more productive sense, or like the divisiveness of terms.
Yeah, no, I do understand what you're saying, but it's not about the terminology; it's about the concepts. Let me ask you this, Dave.
Well, like, no, but the terminology matters. Like, let's say
sure,
look at a term like toxic masculinity, right? There's fair arguments to be made that there's certain aspects and like expectancies on males that would be considered toxic or like causing problems or like not productive towards society in certain ways that have developed over time. That's a fair thing. But you're going to put somebody's defenses up. So yeah. I think that it's more useful to like perhaps switch to using a term like addressing problems in societal toxicity, because it's not necessarily calling out any group. And you can address which aspects of those things are affecting who, but you're less likely to, have people immediately on the defensive. And a lot of the people who are trying to like fight for positive changes are using very divisive terms. And I think that that's an issue.
Okay. I mean, and again, I'm not really going to, defend or not defend that particular thing. But let me ask you this though. Forgetting about the semantic things, all this stuff can be eliminated if you forget the semantics. Because this is I've really distilled it down to one fact. And this is what everything's contingent upon. If somebody says this fact isn't true, they're fundamentally wrong and they don't understand what the hell's going on. Okay. That's when I say, okay, this is where we need to have an education. Right. So here's the fact, Dave. You tell me if it's true or false.
Yeah.
All atheists lack a belief, but not all who lack a belief are atheists.
I'm going to assert you're wrong and provide no rational evidence because I'm not a liar.
What do you actually think? So is that, what do you think? Is that true or false statement?
Oh yeah, it's true. I think that
I'm getting worried there for a minute.
Yeah, so most people will obviously say that's true because they're not complete morons. But I have had people tell me that statement is false. And at that point, I know that they have never looked in this topic, and everything they've ever gotten is strictly off watching a YouTube video and watching an atheist channel. Every single time I've been right on that. That at least that I can recall. If somebody says that statement is false, then they don't understand that there are other ways of looking at things, right? And not looking strictly at semantic things, but fundamental concepts, right? Because it is a fundamental concept that you can lack a belief and not be an atheist in philosophy. It's not even questionable. There's no argumentation to be really had on that. It's pretty ubiquitous. I mean, you could be a theological cognitivist. They don't have a belief, but they're not atheist. They can't be an atheist. It's a category error to do so.
Yeah, I mean, like the problem is, I think a lot of the philosophical arguments for atheism are rather weak, or at least a lot of them are no stronger than the counter argument.
No, I disagree with that too. I think atheists have some pretty good arguments.
Some of them are. I said a lot of them. Yeah. Like there are a lot of poor arguments. Not all arguments are poor. But I think that there's more evidence like based arguments that seem to be more valid and like have place a little bit more weight on the scale, so to speak, that are often not used. And
like which one? What's a really good argument?
1 sec.
Okay. Well, this goes to like Bayesian theory that Carey uses. I've used that argument before, and I even pointed out to him before. He's like, because in his blog, he says, Steve needs to realize low priors. And I'm like, Richard, I've used that in my videos before. Why do I need to realize something I've already used? I used your same exact example. You just equated using Bayes' theorem, but I've just related the concept and said that's a good argument for atheism. And I tell people use that argument for atheism. So he got that wrong. And I think that's a very good argument. I mean, low priors is a very good argument.
Yeah, I'm talking about like from the perspective of like if you understand like how societies developed, sociology, the psychology of people, some of the evolutionary arguments as to why like religion would have developed absent the need for it to be true, like those sorts of things. But they usually like require quite a bit of knowledge on different topics to adequately like converse about. So I think
you're
less
talking about like a James versus memes thing.
Kind of, yeah. Like in a way. Like
I mean,
there's
a way of
adequate,
looking at that. Sure, mnemonics
like,
it's called.
Yeah, like if you look at just the general propensities people have and the types of mistakes that people make, like as a starting point, like just the difference between like type 1 and type 2 errors. A lot of people don't get the difference between those things.
Yeah, that's failure to reject or failure to accept.
Yeah, and like survival tends to favor one of those two things, and surprise, surprise, the one that survival favors also helps to, accept ideas that may not be true.
Yeah, I hate, by the way, I really hate the whole atheism is the null hypothesis. That's got to be one of the dumbest things. I think, was it Gagosian came up with that crap?
Yeah, I
Was
mean,
it? It's so stupid.
I understand his rationale, but I kind of disagree with the application. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get
It's
where
it's
it comes from,
it's a
but it's
vast
not.
out of scope. It's so
Yeah.
it's a scope error like I've never seen before. And I asked Brian Stevens, who's a statistician, and he was like, "Yeah, he's like that. You can't use it for that." I mean, what would be in order to have a hypothesis null? You have to. I mean, that basically is what you reject if your hypothesis is the case or more likely to be the case because you're dealing with probabilities, and then you lead into what.
Like I will say, like, as much as like I don't care for Boghossian in a lot of ways, I think from his like some of the stuff that he wrote in like a manual for grading atheists, as far as like how to conduct conversations and how to talk to people, I think he has some valid points. Is like from like sort of a linguistic communications perspective, and I think like Anthony Mabosco picked up a lot of that stuff and applied it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. No, I agree with you. And Anthony took the good parts and got rid of the shit parts.
Yeah, and like so. It's not like Boghossian's like 100% wrong on everything. There's certainly things I agree with him about, but like, yeah. So,
yeah, but Boghossian wanted to get. I mean, all his thing is he thinks religion is a mental illness, and all he wants to do is undermine it at all costs.
So what I think that he's made a mistake in his communication on that is I don't think that religion is a mental illness, but I think that mental illness can. Like religious ideas and mental illness make a volatile combination.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. People that are mental, their religion in their hands can be dangerous.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that it's dangerous in the hands of people who are mental. It's dangerous in how we treat people who may be mental, who are mental in a way that they framed in a religious context. Like,
sure. No, I don't doubt that.
Like if somebody believes they're possessed by a demon and they are schizophrenic,
yeah,
there's a large portion of society who, rather than get proper treatment, would say we need an exorcism, right? Like,
no, I totally agree with you.
So, like, I think that it's not that religion is a individual mental illness. I think it's a societal mental illness in the way that we treat and process information in a way. Like,
no, I don't believe that. I mean, people, the religion isn't.
Like
you talk about potentiality of something, yeah, and you can definitely exacerbate. I mean, as well as I do, man. When people, I mean, I watched this video the other day that it was about Christian missionaries over in India, and the guy was touching their forehead, and they were falling over backwards and shaking, and somebody made a comment, and it was a brilliant comment. I hadn't thought about this before. I wish I would have said it. Don't you hate it when somebody says something where you go, "God damn it! Why was that fucking me that said that?" Right? I see Dustmeister knowing that look. He's been there, done that, right? So it was somebody said, if an all-powerful God existed, I don't think he'd be wasting his time using his power to make people flop on the floor like a fish. I was like, I agree. Thank you. That makes sense to me. I wish I would have said that.
Yeah, like it's
brilliant.
Yeah, there's enough examples of crossover. I also think that there are cases where people may be prone to suffer from a mental health issue, And if they didn't have religious thinking on top of it, it may not be as bad as it is, or it may be addressed in a different way.
Yeah, I don't
And
think anybody would argue that. All right, hold on a sec, Dave. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
I got a fish on the hook. Gonna reel it in.
Oh, okay, go for it.
So listen, because I don't know this person. So I want to do an experiment here because I'm curious. I'm curious. I'm not doing like a real one because I have no Hadal. So forget the type 1, type 2 things. By the way, I always get them confused. Type 1 is when you have a true null hypothesis and you reject it, and type 2 is when you fail to reject a false null hypothesis. Right? False. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's right.
I'm pretty sure that type 1 is a rejection of a true null, and then type 2 is a failure to reject a false null.
Yeah, I do believe that's right.
All right, so here we go. So the truest is out there.
Type 1 is asserting something that is absent. So type 1 is a false hit.
Yeah, and type 2 is a false, and you failure to reject.
False miss. Yeah. Like you were saying.
Yeah, I knew that.
What was present with me.
I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I always second guess myself on things that I haven't.
Me too. I get those backwards I always think I'm getting those backwards, so I always end up checking.
All right, so
it doesn't matter.
All right, so let me ask my question. So truest, what is my position on atheism? Because you made a comment here, I'm going to die on a hill, and that quote my definition of atheism. I can't do it right now, but I wouldn't mind in the future. I've never done it. I don't even know how the camera mic functions. No, you can do the live chat if you want. Go ahead. Tell me what my position is when it comes to atheism. Because I guarantee it, you're probably going to get it wrong. Because a lot of people, for some reason, don't bother to actually listen to what I'm saying, and they go to these other videos from certain people that misrepresent my positions. And I think a lot of times on purpose. I know that sounds paranoid. People are like, oh, look at Steve is paranoid. No, I think they do go out of the way. I've seen
they
it.
Listen to you while waiting to respond to other people.
No, I think they just go out of the way to misrepresent me. But there is cases where people they wait for you to say a certain thing so they can ping on a certain word. In fact, Matthew called Wotan out for that the other day in the debate, and he was spot on.
Oh man, yeah,
spot on.
Matthew seems to be pretty smart, and he knows his stuff. I started laughing when they were bringing up the chromatic aberrations and stuff. It's just like,
yeah, he did a good job, Mr. Autopants. Honestly, just see Steve as that guy who's there to take up this argument. Someone's going to do it. I recognize it exists. Don't have to buy it. I don't know what that means. Let me show you something that actually sent somebody to me the other day. This is what fuels me. This is the kind of messages that I get quite frequently, but not to this extent that made me almost cry in a good way. But you'll see what I mean by this. I got this, and this was yesterday, I think, on my Facebook page. From Ronnie. You guys don't know him, I don't think. But he says, I honestly think you bringing this whole topic up, explaining your process on how you came to your position, is one of the most important discussions in the past couple years in the atheist community. Every time somebody gets anything about atheism, or Gnosticism, or an atheism confused or equated, we should name McRae's razor. Edit. Why? I believe this issue of belief, non-belief, and a deity goes far beyond just atheism, agnosticism, deism, theism, etc. It fundamentally attacks our own personal epistemological approach to determining what we believe and why. Exactly. He gets it. That is exactly why I do a lot of what I do, and why I make the arguments that I make. I am not a parrot. Anybody can say a lot of things about me that they can probably say, and some of them may be true, some may be false. But I cannot even imagine somebody having the balls to say that I'm just a parrot when I go out of my way to formulate my own argumentation that's novel. Sure, some of them might be derivative, but what isn't, right? Truism, the truist says atheism does not have a burden of proof. It can be argued in regards to specific gods. What do you think a burden of proof is, truist? And does any position have a burden of proof or non-position? If I say I don't believe P, does that have a burden of proof attached? I'll tell you right now, Richard Carrier believes that it does. So even he agrees with me on this.
Are you say wait? If you did you say I do not believe P that there's a burden of proof?
Yes.
Because I would say that there's a difference between I don't believe P and like as I say I don't believe it, you have no reason to think that I do believe it and I'm lying. If I say I believe P is like untrue,
but you
like,
have to
that's
understand
different.
what's going on here, Dave. When you say, okay, look at this is where people really need to think about this carefully. And if you want to go read On Propositions by Bertrand Russell, he explains that propositions of any kind are all in the positive, always in the positive. So any position is a positive position, whether it be a lack or in the negative or the positive. So when you say that I lack a belief, you're making the claim that you lack a belief, right? That needs to be justified of why you don't accept a proposition.
Well, I mean, Steve, if I say I don't think ice cream is delicious, do I have a burden of proof to prove it's not? Like, I mean,
to yourself, yes. Well, your burden of proof is met by that because that's what's called an incorrigible belief. Incorrigible belief is true by virtue that's true by you believing.
I think if I say I don't think ice cream is delicious, and somebody says ice cream is definitely delicious, like you're wrong.
But Dave, you're not listening to me. Dave, you're not listening to me. This is where people they're so quick to spew the party line. They're not listening to what I'm saying.
I'm not trying to spew a party line.
Okay,
just
listen to me carefully.
In this example, it seems like
if you don't like a particular flavor, that has jack shit to do with anybody else.
Right, okay? Exactly. So I don't see why there would be a burden of proof.
God damn it, David! You're so quick to jump on shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It has nothing to do with somebody else. These are called autobiographical statements or self-assessments. Okay. Mm-hmm. An autobiographical assessment is a burden of proof to yourself. And that has already been met by the fact that you have an incorrigible belief. You believe that you do not like ice cream.
Okay.
It's called a second order belief as opposed to a first order belief.
Right.
Agnosticism is a second order belief. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So atheism is a first order belief.
Yeah.
And theism is a first order belief.
Yeah.
Okay. So most people will agree with them on that.
Yeah.
But if you agree that agnosticism is a second order belief, and Malpass explains it very well, he agrees. He calls it it's a belief about a belief. If you have a second order belief and all beliefs require a justification, that requires a second order justification then. So all beliefs have a justificatory condition. So no matter what your position is, you always have some type of burden of proof. Now do you get it? You don't owe anybody else.
I guess, I think that's
justified.
So what I was trying to say is
good. Thank God.
What I was trying to say is I don't think that the burden of proof is owed to anyone else.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you there. Sure.
That's what I mean. What I was saying, if I make a claim about my own belief,
yes,
I don't like the burden of proof is not on me to prove to somebody else that I believe that thing.
No, of course not.
That's what I was trying to say.
There are some exceptions here.
Okay.
You never have a burden to prove anything. That word is a misnomer. The burden of proof means burden of justification, burden of evidence. Those are exactly equivalent in epistemology. There's no difference between those three terms. Okay, so you can use them interchangeably. So the burden of proof gets that people hear that word proof and they think the legal terminology, right? They think you have to prove something or demonstrate something. It has shit all to do with that.
Yeah, that's not correct.
Yeah. And most of us know this by now. I've been harping on this, explaining this to people. This is what I tend to do is explain these concepts. But when you have a burden of proof to yourself, that just means that you have to justify your own beliefs. That's it. You want to be rational, you have to justify it.
Yeah, and like I said, this is one of those things where semantics matters because, like, fundamentally we agree on this topic, but I was thinking more from the perspective of proving to other people, and so I was a little bit too quick to.
I got you. So how about we let you guys take apart this guy's argument because you guys know this by now. You guys graduated to
as much as I would love to. I actually have to.
God damn it, Dave.
Here in 5 minutes, so
right.
I don't. But I can hang out for.
All right. Well, he says atheism is not a belief, though. Is that a true statement or false statement?
Atheism is not a belief would be a false statement.
It'd be a false statement. So atheism is a belief. It is a belief that gods don't exist, but you can accept different definitions, right? But there is a definition that gods don't exist.
It's at the very least a position that requires supporting beliefs. So I think fundamentally in X, it's the same thing. Like people will say, "Oh, it's not. It's the negation of belief or whatever." And
Yeah, but even still, there's still a belief attached to it, right?
Yeah,
all
it's
propositions are positive. So if I don't believe P, I have a belief that I don't believe P. Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference between somebody who has been presented information, formed a series of beliefs, and arrived at the conclusion to become an atheist, and say an infant that has no concept of religion and is
right. That's called
has no belief in religion because there's no concept of it, which is not an atheist.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Yeah, a baby would be considered. Dr. Opie uses the term innocent, and I use that too, because a baby can't be an atheist. That's just absurd.
But rocks can be atheists.
You know what's funny is I had 3 people explaining that logic to somebody today, and they didn't understand it, and they're like just going off. And the people that knew logic are like, "Listen to us. You're not understanding what we're saying to you. It's a logical, not a semantic argument."
Steve,
right?
when you're having to deal with rock atheists, send them to an ex-rock atheist.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're a rock atheist last week.
It's one of those things where it's like all atheists don't believe in gods, but not all people who don't believe in gods are atheists.
That's my fact test. Yeah, the fact is, not all who lack a belief. So excuse me, all atheists lack a belief in gods, but not all who lack a belief in gods are atheists. That's a fact. Anybody who says it's not a fact is just misrepresenting things completely. Because even if you accept the colloquial definitions, even if you accept the schema of what the atheist experience and American Atheists put out, you can't get away from the fact there are other definitions. So you cannot say all. There are atheists out there that don't accept those definitions. Those would be the exceptions to that all. So all atheists who lack a belief are not atheists. That should be all who lack a belief are not atheists, because there's people out there that lack a belief that don't use those definitions. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, I typically agree with most of the things that come out of those groups, but the problem that I see is they seem to be mixing their ideologies in the sense a lot of the things they're promoting are not they're doing it under the banner of this is what atheism promotes. Yeah. And it's not. It's what secular humanism promotes, more or less.
That's true.
And so, if they want to peg themselves as a secular humanist organization who happens to mainly be atheists, I think that's fine. But it's not necessarily done that way. It's sort of done in the inverse, and I think that's where probably the problems arise definitionally.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that. So the burden of proof, if you don't believe something, right, it still exists. The trust. Right, not accepting an argument is not. There is a belief there. The truest. You believe you don't have enough evidence to accept the argument. That is a belief. Well, that's for your justification, right? It's not argument like precepts. This is epistemology. The truest. And I actually teach people or help people to argue against precepts. Saitan Bernicate is a friend of mine who I argue with, who I kick his ass. Okay, so this has nothing to do with presuppositionalism. Okay. And iconoclasm. Come on, that's not true. Come on.
It's not, because you have to ask yourself what is sufficient and required before you can adopt or assign a label. And if you look at atheism, it seems to be that you have to have a concept of the thing that you're rejecting in order to adopt that label. So anything that doesn't have that concept can't have that label, which is why.
Yeah, but that's not what his argument is. Yeah, but that's true. But the truest is saying that if you reject somebody's claim, you have no burden of proof, and that's not correct. To be rational, you have to hold a position. You have to have a justification for it. Even if you go to logicalfallacies.com, it even tells you that there are certain positions out there, like evolution, that if you deny it, you have to give a reason. Okay,
you're certainly not obligated to.
Well, we're not David, listen to me. There's a difference between obligation, which is onus, okay, and being justified to hold a belief, right? We're talking about holding
I agree. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just pointing out, it seems like they're having this situation, if somebody just asserts some random thing that you don't have a burden of proof. If somebody says leprechauns are real, and you're like, no, they don't, or they're not at all, that you suddenly don't have a burden of proof.
You have a burden of proof to yourself.
You do. You add.
You do when you say that.
You have a burden of proof in rejecting that claim. You're just not obligated to provide it to that person.
No,
but whenever you respond to them like that, you're not
I've
just
got to run,
rejecting
Steve.
the claim.
What, Jim?
I got to run. Sorry.
But whenever you're doing that, you're not just rejecting the claim. Though, whenever you're responding with no, they're not, like no, leprechauns aren't real, like that is taking
that claim. You need, you have a
claim.
responsibility there to give evidence for that position. To be
Absolutely. Now, sure. you can reject that claim and not have a burden of proof.
No, iconoclasm. I was referring to your thing saying that he was saying this is like presuppositionalism. This is completely not like presuppositionalism. Go watch me destroy Saitan or Matt Sleck. This is not presup. Rejecting evolution is not a claim either. Yes, it is. You're claiming you don't accept evolution. That is a claim. I don't know how that hard it is to explain to grasp. There's always a second order attachment to a not accepting something, which makes it a positive position. Are you going to go to the store? I don't believe you're going to go to the store, which means I believe that you're not going to go to the store. Right? Playing these semantic word games doesn't get you out of a proposition always being positive. Again, go read on Proposition by Burton and Russell. And what's funny is, Jim, you remember my syllogism? Remember I first came out with my argument, how much pushback there was on it? And now I swear to you, I get pretty much nil. Even the groups out there in atheist communities are going, okay, well, you know what? Either we're going to accept this or we're just not going to talk about it because they know they can't defeat it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just one of those truths, that, I mean, the atheist community have called themselves atheists for so long, just out of a need for unity and normalization, which I don't blame them for, and I fully support. I don't either. But at the same time, it's resulted in people taking that conflated definition as the only definition.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely 100% right, because a lot of them have been told that's the only definition, right? American Atheist, runs that narrative that atheism is just this. There is no other form of atheism. Yeah. David says, I'm going to read that Burton Russell paper. Yeah, it's not an easy read, and I didn't get through the last third of it, I guess. But in the first half, he talks about logical atomism, and logical atomism is basically a construction of propositions. So you have what's called positions, where something is in the sentence. You have I'm trying to remember his paper, and I'm not even looking at it. Constituents. So I say, like, Matt likes cake. Matt, like, and cake are symbols that are constituents in a form that has the proposition Matt likes cake. I'm trying to learn the basics, by the way, so I'm going back and I'm reading all these very prevalent papers. Because I mean, I actually read papers, and it's hard to believe. So Truist says, let me ask you this: can you prove a negative? Yes. There's two ways I can think off the top of my head you can prove a negative. Does anybody know who they are? What they are? But this has nothing to do with proof, by the way. The burden of proof has nothing to do with proof. It's like the Big Bang has nothing to do with banging. If you think the burden of proof has to do with something you have to prove in epistemology, you don't understand the burden of proof. Okay, because it's nothing to do with proof. It's a misnomer. Can anybody tell me the two things you can use for proving a negative?
Anecdotal?
No.
I'll
give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. One is the rule of inference. That's very common, very similar to modus ponens. Again, the form is P implies Q, not Q, therefore not P. Called modus tollens.
I have no idea.
Okay, so modus tollens is one way to prove a negative, and the other one's called proof by impossibility. So, but if you can demonstrate that, or by reductio ad absurdum. So if you can demonstrate by reductio ad absurdum, a proof of impossibility of something existing, right? Then you've demonstrated an existential proof that something is negative, or something a negative existence. So something doesn't be the case. So it's proving a negative. But most of the time you're using modus tollens. Modus tollens literally is proving a negative, right? Because you're proving a not situation. P implies Q, not Q, therefore not P. If you prove a negative, there's a logical contradiction. No. You go look up how to prove a negative. You can definitely prove a negative. But we're not, Sarah Bia, we're not talking about ontology. We're talking about proofs. Proofs is mathematics, you know. Nate says, I'm 100% done with the definition of if atheism, all 2019. Oh, he's going to do, so all of atheism he's done for of the definition of atheism. Okay. So it's just the definition of atheism is done. Good lick. I think it means luck. He must be on a cell phone. Good. I'm going to read it like I think it should be. Good luck with it. Contradictions and evaluation can prove a negative. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Nate. And by the way, Nate, let me ask you, yes or no, so I can get it on the record here. Heretic, when he says that I don't believe P and I do not believe not P is logically invalid. In other words, not be P and not B, not P. He says that's logically invalid. Will you say right here and now that that's bullshit? That Heretic's wrong in the live chat? Because Heretic doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Goss Iwin, what are you doing? Don't you know she just returned from her third retiring forever in the last year? That I did not remember that. Thank you, Goddess Iwin. That is you make a good point. That is true. But yeah, no, I didn't bring that up. But you know what's funny? She goes away, she'll piss everybody off, then she'll go away, and then she comes back and does the same thing. I don't know. Oh, look at this. Heretic is wrong. Thank you, Nate. Thank you. I am, you know what? There is a God. I am now a theist. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Give me a name and Jim.
No.
I love Nate. Nate, you know what? I wish Nate lived closer because I've got to figure out a way to go have a fucking beer with that dude. We'd have fun. He'd probably be scamming all the chicks though. Oh, he lives in like New York. Yeah. Big finger, small keyboard. No, dude, I know what you're talking about. I have a cell phone too. That's really small. I actually bought a little pen because I would be talking like Jim, literally as I'm taking a walk. Just like in a chat. Yeah, I hate it. I like five or six times I have to back up and do it again. So you can have a beer with Destiny.
Wait, how is that like me?
Oh, because I'll use my phone sometimes. You may not know, but when you're on Facebook and you have an instant message, it shows up on my phone as well. And I might be walking at the time, just saying something to you on my phone instead.
Oh, yeah, got you.
Jim was the first person I ever Facebook, or excuse me, FaceTimed on my phone. Believe it or not.
Yeah, it was crazy. Don't ever do that during a shower again, Steve.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Landa, I won't drop it next time. I won't drop the phone.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I might be on Destiny's channel from what I understand. I don't know. He says he told Kyle that he'd be happy to have this discussion with me, although I talked to him off air and he didn't have any disagreement with me. He actually liked my argument, I thought. So all right, so where are we going here? Where's the truest here? By the way, you don't need a camera, you don't need a microphone. Go buy a microphone, truest. I don't bite much. Unless you do something like Anti-Ordinary did to me, and then after the 6th or 7th time, I'll bite back, which I did.
Guys, I gotta head out of here. I gotta go feed horses.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm just winding down. I feels good to vent every so often. You know, if not, I'm gonna lose. This is my pressure relief thing.
Right.
Gotta do it.
No, I mean, everybody needs to vent. And I mean, it's really frustrating when somebody misrepresents you and you can't really get all your feelings out in, and however many characters Twitter allows you to have.
Yeah, I kind of like that. At the same time, it's a bane. I swear to you, I think I've become a much better interlocutor by practicing on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely condense your message easier.
Is there going to be a non sequitur show tonight?
Yes, but I don't know what it's about. Boy. Not non sequitur. I think he's doing a non sequitur. He's doing Smoking Nun, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's.
He does it every other Sunday sometimes, but I'm going to be on Dr. Jones's channel at 5 Pacific. So.
Oh, nice. I'll have to catch it later. I have the Biblical History Skeptics show is going to be dissecting Carrier's work on Jesus mythicism. So
nice.
pray for us.
Yeah. Don't you dare upset him.
Holy shit!
sorry.
I was going to say, we have it on good authority that someone's already fed information to him about us. So he may be watching.
Are you going to be on his shit list? And what's funny is I don't even disagree with his mythicism stuff. I just think his methodology. I asked Carrier straightforward a question. I said, hey, Richard, could not a theist use the same Bayesian approach you use, only a different priors, or what's called posterior values? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, so they can come to a conclusion that it's 2/3 likely that Jesus did exist. Yeah. Then what's the argument? I mean, they cancel each other out. I don't understand this. But anyways, Iso says he streamed your whole conversation, so it'll be up on YouTube in a few days over his channel too. He streamed our off air. Did he? No. Did he? He streamed he was streaming when I had my conversation with him off air. Not that I mind, but I don't like being streamed when we're off air. I think it's kind of bad form. But
yeah. That's terrible. Is there going to be another Hovins and Aaron Raw debate coming up?
I doubt it, but it's possible.
Okay.
But he also said he streams on Twitch. Did he stream my conversation with him on Twitch? About because I told him, I said I'd annihilate him in a debate on atheism and Gnosticism. I have no doubt that I would destroy him because this is one topic that I read a lot on. I'm comfortable with. Not so much that I know a lot about the topic. It's just that I'm comfortable talking about, right? There's a difference. There's a lot of topics I'm not that comfortable talking about. Like when it comes to geology, fuck no. I don't know shit about geology.
Yeah, so tonight's show is going to be one-off show. I have a feeling because we're going to be, obviously people who've actually read his work and have actually checked the sources that he used. And from what I've seen, it's not looking pretty. So anybody in the live chat at 7 o'clock Eastern, or excuse me, 6 o'clock Eastern, we're going to be doing a Biblical History Skeptics podcast on Richard Carrier and Jesus mythicism. Oh boy.
Now, let me ask you this. He's invested so much on this. I mean, if people did show that his methodology was just flawed from the get-go, do you actually think he would ever admit to it? Because, I mean, somebody said this to me, Steve, yeah, your whole position on justification or whatever is flawed, and they can logically prove it to me, and I can get validation from experts, and we can sit and realize, hey, the whole world's wrong on this, basically, but I'd have to be forced to change my position. I don't know. I don't know if he would.
See, the difference between you and Carrier is you've actually submitted your work to actual professionals that are competent in their field and have got it fact checked. With Carrier, not so much.
Well, they read his work.
No. What I mean is it's already published. You at least wait before you.
I got you. Yeah, I check. Yeah, 9 times out of 10 when I have an argument that I put up, I've already ran it through a bunch of people. There's only one argument that I did at 3 o'clock in the morning that I didn't talk to anybody about, and I have no idea whether it's valid or not. Nobody's ever said anything about it, but it uses a lot of more advanced logic than I'm comfortable with. It uses what's called paraconsistent logic. So you're gonna have contradictions.
My thing is, I think because this is Carrier's bread and butter, he is going to protect it like a baby egg, a baby chick. I mean, it's just not.
Well, I think there's a good argument that says that there's not too many biblical historians that will say that Jesus didn't exist. The argument that may not be the Son of God, but even the atheist, secular people will admit that Jesus existed.
Yeah, well, at least they'll say it's more probable that he did than that he didn't. It's like it's not a hill worth dying on. Let's just concede, yes, there was a figure named Jesus. Hell, there may have been several because according to Dr. Robert Price, there may have been several during that time. And even Josephus records a few loser messiahs that didn't amount to much. So it's not beyond the pale that somebody like Jesus was an apocryphal, apocalyptic end of times preacher. It's not beyond the pale to admit that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah, it's going to be, you know, we would love to get Dr. Robert Price. I mean, that is a mythicist that I could actually listen to for hours, because he is very well read and educated, and he will admit when an argument is weak. I was just listening to two podcasts with Dr. Price, and it's just amazing the mind this guy has. And he does not go beyond. I mean, Carrier has taken it several steps forward. I mean, some of it is kind of grasping.
And what time is that tonight?
That's going to be, it's probably going to be 5 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock my time, and then 6 o'clock Chris Hansen's time. Yeah. So, yeah.
Somebody says, dude, you should live stream. I would watch and help you out. What, Twitch? Nah. I have a Twitch thing. I'm not interested in that. I need to start doing my Facebook more. Get more Facebook people involved.
Yeah.
The monk.
Well,
maybe Steve. Hang on one sec. The monk says maybe Steve blocked me or something. He never responds to anything I say, no matter how hard I try to get his attention. Hi.
Hi.
I didn't block you.
Surprise!
By the way, it's a sea of mods, except for like him. He doesn't have mods, and for some reason, Jim, you don't have mods. What the hell's wrong with you? You gotta fix that.
Oh wait, I need mods.
Yeah, well, you get mods.
Oh, could you get me a blue wrench?
I don't have followers. Why do I need mods?
Because that just means you're part of the cool crowd.
Oh.
And you know what's funny? People like you give mods, people agree with you. No, there's people that have mods that don't agree with me on a lot of shit. Smitty goes after me all the time, but I like Smitty.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm one of the. Well, no, I'm non sequitur mod. I don't think I'm one of your mods. Fuck you.
Now Steve. You are. Well, now you are. I give you. Yeah.
Never mind. Unfuck you, Steve.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Steve, could you get me a colorful blue wrench for the non-sec show?
I could probably hook you up. On the non-sec, we go through and we like a couple months or month or so. We will like just edit it down because there's just too many, and we don't want to see it blue like it is on this channel, which makes sense. Like on this one, I don't care. No, the monk, you're not ignored. What's up, monk? You got my full divided attention. Go ahead, the monk 72. Talk to me. What you got for me? And I'm just going to mute you real quick because I'm getting a lot of background noise, Brian.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks.
I think is the 72 the amount of virgins that he won't get?
Ooh. Oh, did you watch the episode of the Non Sequitur show that we had when we had that guy about doing astrotheology?
Yes, that was very intriguing though, and I actually thought that the after show on that was better than the main show.
Sometimes. David says this whole hangout reminds me of people who don't believe you exist. Yeah, you talk about atheists. Yeah, whole group of people that don't believe that I exist. Yeah, weird. It's a phenomenon, dude. It really is.
The only thing that I don't believe exists is your cup. That's the only thing that I think doesn't exist.
I have. Well, you know what? I'm pretty sure I bought 5 of them, but I can only find 3. I don't know what I did with the rest.
They're outside.
Yeah, I don't know. When I'm down to 3 cups, and I definitely have 3 because I washed them. I have Daggerfall's cool. All right, what you got for me, Monk 72? You got my okay. Coin flip cover results. I don't believe that the results is tails. I don't believe that it is heads. I believe that it's unknown. Is there a burden? Can you explain it? Okay. If you flip a coin and you cover it, right, and you don't have any information either way, you are not justified to take a guess. Guesses are never justified as a belief. All right. I can guess, don't be wrong. I can guess heads or tails, but I can't say I believe that it's tails and be justified to do so rationally. Right. So when you don't have a position either way, when you don't have a position that is tails, you don't have a position that is heads, you are what's called agnostic on the proposition. Okay. Agnosticism is a belief. Agnosticism is the belief that you have no information either way. In this case, would be evidential agnosticism. You have no information either way to make a rational determination, whether it's heads or tails. Therefore, your justification for holding to the position of agnosticism, on this case, or agnostic, is evidential because you don't have enough evidence. So yes, you have a burden of proof, right? But that's trivial to discharge, right? Because I just did. The burden is satisfied by saying, well, I have no evidence either way, so I'm agnostic on B. There you go. That's all it takes to discharge properly your burden of proof on that. That's it.
Right.
Not complicated, people.
And the thing is that unless you are trying to convince somebody to take your position, the only person that you have to justify your belief to is yourself. Just because somebody else says, well, that's not good enough for me. Like I need more evidence than that. Like,
or accept the burden of persuasion and give them. This is what I'm advocating for atheists out there. And this is the crux where Carrier and I actually disagree. He thinks that the atheist has no burden of persuasion for the theist. They don't need to try to convince them. Which makes no sense to me. Right. But if you want to convince the mind of a theist, you have a burden of persuasion, which is a form of burden of proof. Right? You can't just say, hey, you know what? Jim, convince me that I'm wrong. Right? Because that's what Carrier is saying. Carrier is saying the theist has to change the mind of the atheist. The atheist has no responsibility to change the mind of the theist. Then what the hell who are you writing for, is what I told Carrier. I was like, if you have no responsibility to change the mind of the theist, because this is literally what he said on my Facebook page, and I said, then why do you write your blogs if you're not trying to convince them? You're just preaching to the choir? You're just talking to the atheist out there? I mean, if you really want to make a difference, you would want to own the burden of persuasion and go out and say, hey, look at theist, you're wrong.
Right.
Let me show you why. I really think this old school atheist people, the new atheists, I call them, be like Carrier, Dillahunty, and Arn, and Silverman. I think they shoot themselves in the foot. I really do. If their goal is to really change minds of people, then I'm sorry, just getting them to accept an agnostic label, but not having them understand, the atheist label, with not having them understand the topic, doesn't do anybody any damn good.
Of course not.
I mean, sure, they may not go to church or whatever and blah, 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 but it's not as effective as changing the position for theists to say, you know what? Okay, I believe God exists. And then convincing them, if this is your goal, to say, you know what? You're right. There are no gods. I think they'll make a bigger impact on people than the people that just say, well, I don't believe there's a God. I have no burden, which they do. But what do you think is going to be more effective to convincing theists, showing them that they're wrong? Sorry, go ahead.
Right.
I'm ranting.
No, well, actually, I mean, you would think that's what it is, but they're all about what is convincing to them. I mean, appealing to their sensibilities or lack thereof. Yeah,
and well, you also get Arn out there. Like Arn will say, atheist equals non-theism, and there's no other way there is. And he actually has said that the only reason certain places will say otherwise is it because of religion that's been mixed in with philosophy.
No, if he was to say that there is belief and non-belief, I would totally agree. But to say that non-belief equals atheism is completely inaccurate.
Right. But this is what the Silverman thing was. This is from the Anthony Fluce paper in 1972, Presumption of Atheism. This is the whole narrative that he was trying to argue, that, you know, anybody who is a non-theist, because the dichotomy would be theist or not theist. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. Either you have A or not A. If you instantiate that with theist or not theist, right? Then that's true. Anybody's a theist or they're not a theist. But now if you take theist and you make that atheist, right? Now you have theist or an atheist. And they're saying, well, now that's the dichotomy. But that's a very synthetic way of doing that, because now you're forcing everything to be either theist or an atheist.
Somebody was trying to convince me, you know, that I finally got them to accept that agnosticism fell within the realm of disbelief. But then within that, you could have, you know, weak and strong agnosticism. And I explained that and finally got them to accept that. And so then they went on to argue that, oh, well, deism is also non-belief. And
no, it's not.
No, it absolutely is not.
Well, let me ask you, were they a classical theist? Because classical theists would argue that.
Well, because I mean, even if you just believe in a creator God, like even if you don't attribute anything supernatural, well, I mean, you would have to attribute something supernatural to it in order for it to be, a deity. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's I don't know. It was so strange how I could get them to change their position and admit that it was not possible for somebody to be an agnostic theist, but they can be a weak agnostic.
Yeah, a weak agnostic. A weak agnostic is what I am. That's the same thing logically as a weak atheist.
Right.
They both lack a belief.
Right.
Logically.
But for some reason I could get them to accept that, but could not get them to accept that deism was belief.
Well, clearly deism is a belief. But like I said, a classical theist would argue that it is lack of belief in the Christian God. But that's just working within in a schema. Like Dr. My friend, what's his name? Dr. Rhodes, Kenny Rhodes. He's a classical theist. In his perspective, anybody who doesn't believe in the classical God is an atheist. So deism would fall into atheism. Hindus would fall into atheism. Right?
Well, I mean,
but I think that's a weird approach. But it makes sense. Classical. That's all.
But I mean, like the Romans in the first century called the Christians atheists because they didn't believe in their gods.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, exactly. The original atheists were actually Christians that didn't believe in the Roman state-sanctioned pantheon of gods. Right.
Right.
So, this is an interesting comment here. David says the problem is that they don't actually try to understand what the apologist is arguing. That is why I absolutely love the ontological argument. I'm a modal fictionist. Are you talking about which ontological argument? There's a couple. Are you talking about a modal ontological argument or just the ontological argument? I happen to like the argument from contingency, which is a type of ontological argument. He says in a modal fictionist, which is basically you're just saying that you treat things as if they were real, even though that they're for fictional claims. I'm trying to think of a good example. A hypothetical situation, like Superman, it'd be a fictional claim. So if I say something along the lines of Superman can fly, okay, well there is no ontological Superman, right? There is no Superman that exists, but you treat the claim. This is how I understand fictionalism. I might have this completely wrong, but you treat the claim that it's actually something that's true without having an ontological component to it. Because if I say Superman can fly, Jim, is that true or false? Well, in order, like the theory of correspondence theory, or even in logical atomism, the position is that there's some truth maker that makes that true. Something in reality, something that makes the fact true. Right? There's some conditions that make the fact true, and that fact makes the propositions true. And
yes,
so
but you have to clarify that. Like that's like somebody asking me, if somebody was to ask me, did God create Adam? I would say no.
Okay. And?
Well, because I don't believe that either of them happened or existed.
Right. Well, yeah, you would argue. Well, yeah, but for something to be true, though, for example, it is true that snow is white. What makes snow white? Well, the fact that it has the color white. It's lacking of other, all colors. It's basically the truth maker is that it reflects all the colors that's on it. Right. It doesn't absorb them. It's not like a black body.
Right.
So there's something in reality. There's some fact about reality that makes that proposition true. That'd be like correspondence theory of truth. Right. So there is no entity called Superman that exists to make the statement Superman can fly is true.
Right.
Okay. He says, sorry, the one Plantinga advocates, and yes, you get model fictionalism right. Good. Thank you. I haven't looked in the shit in ages, so I'm going back a while here. Everything in the Bible happens in some fictional world. Yeah, that David, he's talking about possible worlds. Okay. And Sweet Heathen, we'll catch you later. By the way, give me a call later. Maybe not tonight, but sometime this week. I got to catch up with you. So yeah, when you talk about possible worlds, the possible worlds say that in anything that's logically possible has to exist in some possible world. Anything that's illogical cannot exist in any possible world. So a square circle cannot exist in any possible world. Now, there's something called modal realism and modal anti-realism. Modal realism is that these ontological realities really do exist somewhere. These possible worlds really do exist. Now, this is not the same as multi-world hypothesis. They are not even remotely the same. Okay. And one of the reasons why they use these types of terminologies, especially for Plantinga, is they talk about knowledge conditions. And when you have a truth tracking condition of a knowledge claim, or a knowledge theory, would be something along the lines of, if S believes P is true in the next closest possible world. Knowledge is usually based upon three things: that the proposition is true, that the subject believes P, and the subject is justified to believe P. That's what's called justified true belief. Okay, there are other forms like reliabilism, which I kind of tend to. But there could be a fourth condition called GTP plus, where you add a truth tracking condition called sensitivity. And the sensitivity deals with these possible worlds. So people say, well, what good are these possible worlds? To determine something's knowledge or not in this particular case. You can use possible worlds for epistemology. But the modal realist will say that these worlds are actual worlds, just like numbers are actual numbers in a mathematical Platonism type of thing. So I don't fully understand it. I've had Ozzy explain it to me 5,000 times, and I'm never going to fully understand it by any means because it's beyond complicated. But that's the basic gist of how that works.
Yeah, I mean that alone confuses me. Like, numbers aren't numbers. What the fuck? What does that even mean?
Platonic numbers. Yeah, the way they argue it is like sets. Okay, sets actually exist in a mathematical Platonistic view. Mathematical constructs are real entities. But in a nominalist view, they're not. I do tend to nominalism, although I gotta admit, for most things to work, you do eventually got to accept mathematical Platonism. There's a thesis on this called Quine-Putnam indispensability thesis, where he argues that you can't get away from using these things as if they're real. It is indispensable in science. Like, for example, math is indispensable in science. So you have to treat math like it's actually real to use it, to be justified to use it in science. Now, I'm butchering that. Don't quote me on that, because I'm totally butchering Quine thesis. I know I am. So if Ozzy or anybody else listens to this later on, he'd be like, Steve, no, let me correct that, I'm sure. But that's a good start to talk about the Quine thesis. Man, I've been reading a lot on this shit in the last couple of years, Jim. Fuck. People don't realize a lot of times I'm losing sleep as I'm reading stuff.
Well, that's probably pretty accurate.
Well, I mean, I don't like to be straw man. And I like being able to know things. I just have a thirst for knowledge lately. And God, can you imagine if we would have had the internet when we were kids? We would have been gods.
Man, I mean, I remember the internet. The first time that we had the internet, I think the first time I got on the internet, I think I was 16. But I mean, I was raised Pentecostal. I didn't even have our first TV until I was 14. So, I mean, I was exposed to everything late, but the internet was immediately something that attracted me. And gosh, if some of the laws in place today were in place back then, I would have gotten in so much trouble. It's just ridiculous, like the things that I was doing. I didn't even realize that I was doing. Like, I was making, I call them GIFs. If you call them GIFs, I don't give a fuck. And before they were even called that. So it was just, I don't know, crazy.
One sec here. Lauren Rod just messaged me on my Facebook. Pay attention here. So he said, I had to ask Nate about this. He said he does not agree with you, that you're just doing damage control, since it's obviously not Nate's misunderstanding either. And I wrote him, I said, Aaron, he was literally just in my hangout or live chat. I should have said, in the, said that he was literally in the live chat that just said that heretic was wrong, that not be is logical and agnostic. So hang on one second. I mean, did you not just hear me ask Nate if Heretic was wrong? Are you leaving, Jim?
Yeah. I gotta head out, man.
Okay, before you do, did I not just ask Nate specifically, was Heretic wrong? We'll rewrite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
and it says
blatantly.
Heretic is wrong, and I'll scroll up here. And now Aaron says I'm doing damage control. You see the type of rhetoric that I have to fucking deal with?
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, and he's claiming that he heard this directly from Nate, right?
Yeah, he said I had to ask Nate.
Then, I mean, that's just completely dishonest. I mean, either Nate's taking
well, Nate likes to troll, and Nate likes to troll, and Nate will say things to one person and different to another. I guarantee it. You don't believe me? Go ask some other people. I don't know why he does it, but he'll say one thing in one case, and then he'll go to a different thing and say completely different. I don't understand.
Well, I mean, I'm new to this universe and to the YouTube land and the Twitterverse and all the other good stuff. So I mean, I don't know a lot of these people. I don't know their tendencies, so I can't really comment on that. But I will say that something is fucky and somebody is lying just to either defend their position or defend their defense of a position.
Aaron says this. The issue was your assertion that atheism can only be a positive belief. He obviously does not agree with you on that. Have I ever asserted that?
No.
Ever? Anybody?
Not to me.
One sec. One sec. This is a nuanced thing that I got to get to him. Well, I don't know if how nuanced should I get? Let me ask you guys out there. How nuanced should I get with Arn? Because I know if I get pendant with him, he's not going to understand it. But I don't want to come back and bite me, because all propositions are positive.
Yeah, just keep it simple, right to the point. Just lay it out on the line. Just be honest.
Okay. Okay, so here's my Facebook page again, because this is bizarre to me. He literally just said the issue was your assertion that atheism can only be a positive belief. That has never happened. This is what I'm saying. Ours I don't watch Nate's video, so I don't know what he was arguing against. Maybe I should go watch it. But if Nate is saying, if you guys have watched his video, if Nate was saying that I've said that atheism can only be a positive belief, he strawmanned the fuck out of me again, because I've never, ever, ever, ever said it. Oh, that link is no good. Oh, you know what it is? It's when you put it. It's when you put it in the live chat. You gotta put quotes behind long URLs. So let me do that.
Steve McRae's head exploded? Really?
What are you talking about?
That's the title of his caption on that video.
Oh, really?
One true atheism debunked.
I don't. What on Aaron's thing or Nate's?
No, on Mel J.
Oh yeah. No, but but I made a good comment to that, Mel. Oh shit! Oh, okay. It's a Steve McRae on Facebook, but I want to get this on record here. I have 130 some odd people watching, or whatever it was, down 100, whatever. Is there anybody in the live chat right now? Anybody? And you've a lot of you have followed me for many years. Has anybody ever once heard me assert, either in video, live chat, Twitter, Facebook, G+, 2 styrofoams, and a fucking string? Have I ever said that, quote, atheism can only be a positive belief?
That was hilarious. And no, Steve, I don't remember you ever saying that. But I could be wrong because I haven't watched everything you've said.
And well, that's why I'm asking. Well, yeah, but we have a lot of people that watched me for a long time. So if one person says they say yes, just show me the evidence. Yeah, I am nice. Christy Arn is my friend. But you see the drama that's what happens with Nate. This is why I stopped talking to Nate for a while. This is why I don't watch his videos. When people, and this is why I make this is a good way to end this. This is exactly the whole thing with the anti-ordinary thing. Nate doesn't understand these topics. Okay, Nate gets things wrong. Matt, Dr. Alex Malpass and Ozzy have all sat down for several hours and tried to explain these things to Nate. He doesn't get it. He never will. So I've stopped bothering to explain it to him. Stop watching his videos because he is infamous for straw manning and just tilting at windmills. So he makes assertions that I've never said. And this is what happens when I ask for evidence. Show me the evidence that I've ever said that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, and I'd be interested in seeing it.
Yeah, see, the monk said this, and this is fair. He said, I don't think you've ever said those words, but I always get the impression that then when this comes up that you're saying that atheism is the only the position that God does not exist. Bullshit, though. If you get that impression, you haven't watched me long enough. Atheism can be the lack of belief. That is a definition used in atheist circles. Okay, I've never told an atheist, you're not a real atheist because you don't accept the philosophical definitions. You're not a real atheist because you don't have you don't have the belief that gods don't exist. Never has happened. And yet you get people on these videos that keep parroting these things, saying that I say those things to the point where they think it's an actual fact any longer. It's called Have you heard of the story of 3 men and a tiger?
I don't think so.
All right, go look it up on Wikipedia because I'm going to end this. I got a friend I got to talk to. 3 men and a tiger is basically about a story of a Chinese warlord that goes off to war, telling the emperor that people are going to talk behind his back and not believe it. And of course, he goes away, comes back. People talked away behind his back to the point where what they were saying as rumor became fact. So.
Yeah. I have heard that.
So these things are like out there that I made these statements that I've never said.
Right. Huh.
All right, but anyways, I got to go. But hey, thanks for watching these guys. Let me know what you think. And like I said, I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, Steve's attacking AO." I don't really care at this point. She made a huge mistake. She basically misrepresented me, and now got other people involved. And so it's really got to stop. And I'm just asking the rest of you, if you're not sure about something, ask somebody else maybe, and me talk to that person. But please stop saying things that I don't say. It's really annoying, and it was a waste of my time. I'd rather do things like this at the end where I actually got to talk about topics that I like, and we can learn something. But anyways, I do got to go. I will see you guys down the place, and Brian's got something like 2 hours after that. So peace.